The Jets are
Seattle
15-1 to be the last undefeated team, Tim. I just looked it up on DK.
And they could be that, but I don't know.
You
Anyway,
you have them at like 9-0.
Yeah,
you
there's
currently
team
have them
that
at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have them at 11-0 already.
That's a good start. When you have the best of everything at every position, you don't lose a lot of games.
Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Fantasy. It's the main event. AFC win totals, plus a Cust Corner Mini version towards the middle part of the show. You can always jump around with your teams down in the description. I want to remind you to sub to Mayo Media Network, smash the like to this episode, and if you want $500, or at least the attempt to get $500, leave a subscribe, leave a rating, and review on the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast on Apple and Spotify to get yourself into that draw one of you to win $500. But here's the big thing that I got going on. I got Underdog Fantasy to give me $25,000 for NFL season. And there's two ways that you can get your hands on this money. We're having a season-long props pool. So there's going to be weekly winners, then there's going to be the overall season winners. All you need to do to enter is go down to the description right now. There's a Google form. You put in your email, you put in your Underdog handle, and boom, you are entered into that contest. Now, if you don't have an Underdog account, use code Mayo to go sign up right now. You'll get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Plus, we have every single day of the week from now up until the kickoff of football, there's going to be special promos every single day. So I'll have those in the newsletter, where you'll find the secret link to this show during the season on Tuesday evenings down in the description. So Mayo Media Substack, you can sub to that for free right now. But here are the rules. So you need to make 10 picks a week. You can play any entry you want. You can play for $200 entry. You can play for a $1 entry. But you have to make 10 picks a week for the weekly contest. At least 10 picks a week. You can play 20 picks, 50 picks if you really want to. It'll be done by the percentage of picks you get right. So you don't even have to win your ticket. You can go 8 out of 10, go 4 out of 5, 4 out of 5. You're at an 80% clip for both the weekly and the year long. The top player for the week will win $500. If a bunch of people tie, they'll split that $500. That's the weekly stuff. It's the season long that really matters. That's where 16,000 of the dollars are going. And it'll be, again, done by the percentage that you get correct over the course of the year. Now, you don't have to play it every single week on Underdog Fantasy, but you need to make a minimum of 10 picks a week. Just not every week if you don't want to. You make 20 picks one week, 0 the next week, 10 the rest. Or you can make 500. So if you're way behind, you might need to load up and keep going with $1 entries or $20 entries, whatever it is you want to do. But the top prize for that is going to be $5,000 to you into your Underdog account. Second prize, $3,000. Third and fourth will both be $2,000. Fifth and sixth, $1,000. Seventh, eighth, and ninth, and 10th will all be an extra $500. Now, if you play your entry and you win, you get that money anyway, but you also get your points for the season-long PME total. If that's confusing to you, it shouldn't be, but I'll have the whole write-up in that Google form right now so you can go see the rules. The only thing is there's not going to be any free picks. There's not going to be specials. There's not going to be scorchers. You cannot use those picks as a part of that pool. So if you put one on your entry and you have 5 plays, only 4 of them are going to count towards the pool. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. All ties will just be as many people tie for whatever, split with the money that's up there right now. So that's how it's going to work. I encourage everyone to go play it. Please share it around. Let's get as many people in this as possible so we can run it back for golf season. And then next NFL season, it might be, hell, we got like 3,000 people to play in this. Let's give out $50,000. What do you think about that, Geoff?
That's a lot of money, Pat.
It is. To you good people out there, $25K. Guaranteed.
Good luck to everybody. Unfortunately, I don't think I would be able to play enough weekly because the government where I live is insane.
Well, when we go to Montreal at the end of September, you'll have to have 180 entries. Boom, you're good to go.
I'm always thinking about my next trip to play contests and do entries. So
that's what you do. Code Mayo at Underdog right now. Get you that deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Use the Google form down in the description to go register your email and Underdog handle to get into that contest. Like Geoff said, $25,000 is a ton of money. So anyway, that's the promo off the top of the show. Let's get to the good stuff. What you're here for. Coming off his victorious effort in the century. 1 beer per minute over 100 minutes. It is Tim Undercust.
Tim Andergust.
That's not my name.
Oh, it sounds like your voice is still a bit hoarse from that.
No. Sorry, I'm fighting with people in my menchies. Thank you for that. For that kind introduction. I had a great weekend. I think I deserve more credit for knocking in multiple 30-footers against you in our match play, but I'll take that.
Bravo, Tim. Bravo. Congrats.
Oh, my partner and I had the magic beans. Pitched in from the fairway. We were making long putts. Everything that could come up us came up us. And poor Pat was not being picked up by his partner, who didn't know how nasal spray worked.
Didn't know how he not only didn't know how nasal spray worked, ended up spraying himself in the eye with it. Geoff, I paired myself up with the worst guy on our team to go into this match because it was like a 2-man scramble. I was like, I'll use like 5 shots from him during the round. That'll be good enough. He would do things like putt while I was still at the cart getting my putter, and then I would ask him how it broke, and he wasn't able to tell me. And then he'd ask me questions like, is this uphill or downhill? It was a horrifying experience. Never again.
Tim dropping daggers.
Oh, he
though.
was. He made 3 to 5 putts from beyond 25 feet for par to have holes. And then his partner dunked it from 80 yards out, and that was just the end of it.
We were screaming and jumping up and down on the fairway and hugging each other, and there was really no coming back from that.
It was like Keegan and Phil.
Yeah, exactly. When you got the magic beans against you, the tide is too strong. You can't swim against it.
Well, that's where we're at. You'll see us here every single, probably be like Wednesday at midnight or Tuesday at midnight, like that crossover between Tuesday or Wednesday. But again, you can get the advanced version of this show in the Mayo Media newsletter, free to join. And I'll have tons of other info down here. The coin is here to do this with us, and we'll kick things off with the AFC North. Cincinnati Bengals are favored to win this division at plus 140. Their win total is 10.5. That's juiced to the over, Geoff, of minus 125. Jamar Chase, as of this recording, has not signed his long-term extension, although you think that would be coming with CeeDee Lamb having done it already. We haven't seen Joe Burrow since the beginning of last season, where he entered the year with that calf or hamstring or wherever the hell it was, and then he wasn't good anyway. Then he started to get good, then he broke his wrist or whatever the hell happened to his wrist, and now he's back. And everyone is all in on the Bengals. Like, this is a very difficult division. I do think this is the best division in football.
The best, the most competitive. Yeah, certainly they do it again. I am one of those people who I'm pretty high on the Bengals. If Burrow doesn't get hurt, and I'm not expecting him to get hurt, I would think that they will be there almost to the very end in the AFC. Like most, I don't see, despite how competitive the division is, I don't like some of the other teams. So I could see why the Bengals are the favorite. I'd make them the favorite. I'll pick them to go over that win total. They're winning 11, 12 games as far as I'm concerned.
That's where I want to lean to, Tim, but you have it in the back of your mind that, like, oh yeah, they'll just randomly drop one to Pittsburgh. They'll drop one to Cleveland. In order to get to 11 wins, you basically have to beat everyone outside of the division and run a bit of train inside your division too. Like, even if you just give them a split with the Ravens, because they're also at 10.5, like, they have to sweep one of those other two teams. Not saying that they can't do that, but I mean, as you've pointed out for years, like, when there's a division game, take all the points because these games just end up being close.
Yeah, it's too many wins. It's too many wins. I will take the under. I actually don't think this is the best division of football, and I don't think the Bengals are the best team in this division. So everything leads me to say under. I don't like the Chase stuff. I don't like Burrow coming off of that particular injury, and it's not the first time he's come off a significant injury in his career. You really can't bank on Joe Burrow's health. You just simply can't. And to take this over is, I just think, rolling the bones. I don't think it's a smart bet, and I would advise people to take the under.
Do you
I think they're going to win between 9 or 10 games, like a fringe wild card team. I don't like them.
A healthy Joe Burrow and a last place schedule. Like, yeah, there's an advantage always, I guess, in such a competitive division to the team that, for whatever reason, be it injury or a clear underperformance, walks into the next year with that last place schedule.
But that advantage is gone now based on this number. Like, you're not getting any advantage out of this number. You're basically paying at the top of the market at 10.5 for a team that went 9-8 last year. So I take what you're saying in stride, and I think you're right. But that's true if this win total was 9.5 or 9, not 10.5. It's too high.
Well, I'm going to go with Geoff and the coin on this one and go over. It's just a bet on Burrow's health. Like you said, they were 9-8 last year, and Jake Browning was doing most of the quarterbacking for them. You put Joe Burrow into that, and they probably get to 10, 11 wins anyway. And he was injured to begin, he was injured to begin the season anyway and wasn't at 100%. If he is 100%, which by all accounts he is, then he should be fine here.
And Burrow is of the tier of quarterback where what I'm about to say probably doesn't matter. And we'll get to it when we talk about the South, but a lot of love out there for Brian Callahan. It's not like Joe Burrow needed a QB whisperer to be good, but this guy just looked like he could scheme guys open. And it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to talk about the Titans, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there with the brand new quarterback, but all chips are in. They called Higgins' bluff. They weren't Mike Brown. He can fall in line. Like in paying Joe Burrow, he had to fall in line with where this league is. But he's not going to set a precedent on the timeline for which he will pay top of market. So it was good that Jamar Chase recognized he's dealing with the wrong old man. That guy will not set the market. He will fall in line with the market when it's Chase's turn next year.
T. Higgins.
I will say for the Bengals, the hardest part of their schedule is the end of their schedule. So, if there aren't any health concerns, there's just so many tough games late. I don't know. I feel like too many people are vibing with Cincinnati, and I'm not so sure the evidence suggests that they should be.
Well, T. Higgins, Tim, actually JJ and I made a $375 season-long underdog entry on 5 picks for the overs or unders on season-long prop. And T. Higgins was one of those 5. You can tail that link and get the full breakdown in yesterday's show. But down in the description right now, you can just click it, tail it. Hell, you can fade it if you really want to. And that code Mayo is baked into that as well. So you'll get your $1,000 bonus if you haven't actually gone in yet. If you have an account, sign up for the league and then go tail this. T. Higgins higher, Tim, than 875 yards. Doesn't that seem low?
I guess it does seem low. Not crazy low. Like if you asked me what I was going to get, I would have said around 900, 950 yards. So yeah, it's low, but I don't think that's too far off.
I mean, he got hurt last year and still had 650. The 2 years before that, he was over 1,000 both those years. And then he was over 900 in 2020 as well. Like, as long as he plays his games, he gets over that number. And there's no Tyler Boyd around. And they have Yeshmash as their third receiver now.
The only hole I could poke in it, because it's hard to actually find one, would be a guy with the current receiver market. He will not play slightly banged up. We've just seen a lot of players, whether it be quarterbacks or guys at these positions that pay so much. It's like, nah, if I ain't like 100, I ain't going, because that market says I'm worth 33 a year or something.
Let's move to the Ravens, who I assume are going to be Tim's pick to win the AFC North. Their win total is also 10.5. They are plus 145 to win the division. Their over is juiced up to minus 120. Can you take both these teams to go over, Tim? Like, if you like both these teams and don't love the other teams, there's room in this division for 2 teams with 11 or more wins.
Absolutely, there is. The AFC is stacked. So you have to be very certain that those are the 2 teams that in the division you want to take over 11 wins. You could certainly do it. Look, if Lamar's healthy, he's the best QB in the division. He's the second best QB in football. He's the defending MVP. If he's healthy, I know they don't have receivers. They didn't really have great receivers last year. I know that they've lost a fantastic defensive coordinator, but Lamar fixes all those problems. If he's healthy, Baltimore is going to win 11, 12, 13 games. Just try and stop them. I mean, in the playoffs, you can stop them. They're stopped all the time. But in the regular season, as long as Lamar doesn't get hurt, there's no stopping Baltimore, and they're going to win the division.
So you have them at the over. Where are you leaning on this, Geoff? Because I'm kind of agree with Tim on this. I think Derrick Henry is a nice fit into this offense as someone who can just bang it home. And even if he has a bit of tread on the tires, if he's 80% of what he used to be, he's still going to be better than whatever they had, who are now the running backs for your favorite team. Heads means it's an over for the coin as well. I'm going to go over on the Ravens as well. I do. The biggest thing I actually worry about is losing Mike McDonald because their defense was a lot better than it was expected to be a year ago, and losing a coordinator could throw that back, and all of a sudden they're a slightly below average defense, and I think that would really impact what they want to do offensively.
The concern with Baltimore, I'll say it off the top, I'll be an under. I've seen some 11s show up that I would probably be more inclined, but for the purposes of this, 10.5 under. I think there are way more unknowns in Baltimore this year than people are giving credit for or taking notice. 3 offensive linemen from last year gone. It's some big pieces on that O-line totally need to be replaced. How good of a job did they do it? I feel like in the past, maybe even last year, I picked every team in this division to go over. So could you do it? Like, yeah, you could do it. You'll go worst case 2-2. Like, the division won't hurt you in your season. You add up your whole season's work on these 2 preview shows, but I'm going to pick under this year on the 10.5. Close playoff team, but like 10 wins, so under.
Well, if you went over on all of the teams in the AFC North last year, you went 3 out of 4. The Ravens had 13 wins. The Browns had 11. The Steelers had 10. Hell, the Bengals still had 9. They still finished above 500. So it was still pretty close on that front, despite losing their MVP caliber quarterback for, 80% of the season. So just targeting this division and the overs is usually going to be pretty good. And only the Steelers were really good inside the division last year, which is kind of crazy. Like, the Bengals were 1-5 against the division. The Steelers were 5-1.
That's why they made the playoffs.
Did they make the playoffs?
Yes, they played Buffalo in the first round.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was
the game that got postponed because there was a little bit of snow, and God forbid the Bills have to play in cold weather.
So despite how like strong the conference can feel at times or was supposed to feel, ever since they've added that 3rd wild card team, it's nothing but like shitty teams making the playoffs and even shittier teams being in the hunt really late, which as a fan, it's not a bad thing, but I don't know, if you're decent, like, you're in this thing the whole way through, and evidence is shown by how bad the teams that have sort of limped into the back spots in both conferences, even the good conference, the perceived better conference, have been.
okay.
Pittsburgh sucked last year.
Yeah, but Green Bay blew out Dallas.
Yeah, Green Bay, I mean, Green Bay.
But
got
Geoff
hot
is right.
late,
By
they're
and
a
large,
different team.
the 7th seed is a trash team.
And no, we've just seen really bad teams
You're right.
being
You're
able
right.
to like live to week 17 competing for that spot since
I
its
agree.
inception.
Okay. Let's get to the next team then. We're going to Cleveland with the return of Deshaun Watson. Their win total is 8.5. They are 6-1 to win the division. Their over is also juiced up to -135 right now. You kind of hit it bang on with Watson last year, and he looked super washed. Do you think that was Geoff lingering from what had happened before, where he had taken the time off? He was, shadow banned for a while from the NFL, or do you think a lot of it has to do with the shoulder injury that he sustained that knocked him out for the rest of the year? Like, which guy is he really? Is he the guy that we saw last year before the injury, or is that just something he had all year and he is going to be better this time around? Because if he's not, they're going to be, I don't want to say bad because they were fine with him, but they just relied on their defense so much. Their defense was so much better at home than it was on the road. It just feels like if they get behind in a game with him at quarterback, they can't come back.
He just doesn't look the same. Not even close. It seems like it'll never happen. He's just a completely different player at this point. The defense is so good, and they could survive on it again, and they made the playoffs with 4 quarterbacks last year. And I would argue, Pat, at the time that we are recording this, the perception is lower on the Browns than it's been in a long time. I don't think they've had the best training camp or injury situation. I don't know. Part of me feels like buying low on the Browns. Seems like a crazy thought to think they could win the division, but I don't think they're as bad. Their chances are as low as the number at the moment either.
Well, you say that about the perception surrounding them. Maybe it's because the number is 8.5, but they are the most juiced up team to the over in this division.
I guess that is fair. I mean, I'm not expecting much from Watson, so I don't really feel comfortable investing in them. But you got to love the coach and you got to love the defense. So I'll say over.
2-time coach of the year, Tim.
Yeah, that's true. Look, he's played 12 games in 3 years and hasn't looked good. Who has ever missed that much time and looked bad towards the end and has ever come back and been good again? I don't think it's ever been done. If it has, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. The odds of Watson being good are really, really, really slim, if history teaches us anything. I mean, Chubb is going to be gone for 4 games, and goodness knows what you're going to get out of the running game when he comes back. Yeah, the defense played fantastically last year, but defense is the hardest thing to carry over. Like there are so few green shoots here. There's so few things to be hopeful for if you're the Browns. You know, you've got by far the worst quarterbacking situation, and Pittsburgh has Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, for heaven's sakes. And you have by far the worst quarterback situation. You're into him for another $200 million. I just don't see much to be hopeful for. I'm under. I'm very much under. And part of the Browns being so bad is part of the reason I don't think you can say that this is the best division in the NFL, because the Browns are just such a weak link here.
Aren't they the prototypical Northern team? Like awesome O-line, awesome D-line,
We'll see.
really good coaching. There's just so many teams I feel like they can take advantage of in the league that I'm still willing to trust them.
See, that's where I'm at with him. Like,
Quarterback play is too terrible.
but
Can't get away from it. Can't get around it.
The quarterback play was bad
They
last
won
year.
with 4 guys last year.
They won
though.
with Joe Flacco's numbers, as you know, were excellent when he came in and played quarterback. So good that he stole it from. I don't need to rehash this, but anyway, Joe Flacco's numbers were
Stole
better
it from
than
Baker. Stole it from Baker. That's who we stole.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's who
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Joe Flacco's numbers were better than Deshaun was putting up and could put up last year. Like, you don't have that now. Now you have to go back to Deshaun, who's just finished.
See, I
Sorry,
think,
there's nothing to hope for here.
I think that we have a bit of a rose-colored glasses situation on how good Flacco was a year ago. He was good for that offense. He allowed them to score points, and he went 4-1. That was fantastic. But he
crushed
still,
the Jets in prime time. It changed like
Crushed
the
them.
narrative.
but like he threw 13 touchdowns to 8 picks. It's not like he was just playing absolutely lights out. Like he was an MVP candidate. He was just a huge upgrade from the other 2 jamokes that they ran out there after Deshaun Watson. That I don't know. I
Who
feel
was
like
also bad.
Sure, but he wasn't as bad as those guys. Could Deshaun, listen, we watched Peyton Manning win a Super Bowl when he was god-awful. That the way that Geoff kind of laid this out with the O-line, with the D-line, with this defense, they have playmakers all around the field, especially in the passing game. Can he facilitate enough for them to average 23 points a game? Would that be enough with this defense? And you have to hope the defense is still as good.
I think there's enough teams. There's enough opponents in this league that, don't want to play them, despite not having like a game-breaking QB. I think you see the Browns on the schedule. Like, fuck. This won't be fun.
The coin is going over. I'm going to go a slight under on the Browns this year as well. I think they go 8-9, 7-10. If they went over, it wouldn't surprise me. It'd be like a hard stay away from a real bet. But we're picking overs or unders here, so I'll go under 8.5. Steelers are up next. They are the one team in the division who is juiced to the under. Tim, it's 8.5 for them as well. Obviously, they went over that number, made the playoffs at 10-7 a year ago. I just think this quarterback, you want to talk about like an actually bad quarterback situation? This is it. And they don't have the game breakers on the offensive side of the ball to help these guys out. Like if Fields plays, play him in fantasy, but he's going to throw like 3 picks a game and like rush for 200 yards. He'll be awesome. I don't know how conducive that is to actually winning in the NFL. And I think that a lot of Russell Wilson, at least last year when he looked semi-competent, was a lot to do with the offense that Sean Payton had constructed around him, where you have two jobs here. You can dump it off to the running back or just take a shot down the field, and if you turn it over, just call it a punt. There's no mid-range throws. This is what we're doing. I don't know if Arthur Smith, like, he's going to want to run the ball. He's going to want to play jumbo sets. Maybe he can get away with that. I just don't think that... I mean, he couldn't get away with it in Atlanta in the shittiest division in football. I don't know how he's going to get away with it in this division. I love the under. It's finally time for Mike Tomlin not to have a winning season.
And Russell Wilson probably historically will wear like the blame for being responsible for that. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of like tape nerds who say when they watched Russell on the Broncos last year, like a lot of the things that Bo Nix is doing, at least in the preseason, you know, being able to see that first read, hit that short pass, make the play Russell was afraid to do. I don't think it's going to get better. I'm going to bet the under 8.5. I'm going to bet it. I will put real money. Finally, this shtick ends in Pittsburgh.
The coin is on the over for every team in this division, Tim. Are you on the over for the Steelers?
No, 8-1. I like the under.
That wouldn't shock me.
I refuse to predict an under 500 season for them, but I also want to go under. So that's what I'm doing here. For all that you've said, I think Fields should start. I don't think Fields is going to start. But Tomlin's earned the right to make that decision. So I don't have a whole lot to say. I'm not excited about this, but I'm very rarely excited about the Steelers. I don't particularly care for the Steelers. To me, they're just a big bowl of blandness. They start, with 4 straight games against the Falcons and the Broncos and the Chargers and Colts, all coin flip games that could go in any direction. Like, I don't know. Tomlin's a great motivator. They could win a bunch of games early, but I'm still gonna play that under. Who knows? We have them on a Sunday night, and I really, 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 really don't like playing Pittsburgh in prime time because they end up beating us frequently, and I really want that game.
The O-line sucks. Okay, they have incredible linebackers, maybe like the best linebacking core in the league. Secondary's good, but you mentioned Fields should start.
Yeah,
if you're like cheering, if you're betting, like, I don't know if this is the right way to look at it, but when your favorite team is playing Pittsburgh, you hope Russell Wilson's starting. Fields at least can like do something.
Yeah,
like you have to be worried. Yes, he can throw pick sixes, but he can also break containment and really hurt you. I would so much rather get to play against Russell Wilson than it's Seattle week 1.
No, it's Atlanta week 1.
Oh, Atlanta week. Oh, Denver's playing Seattle.
So Denver's playing Seattle again in week 1. Didn't they play like 2 years ago, week 1 on Monday night?
Yeah, it's one of those weird 17th game things, I think.
Yeah, they played right after the trade when they traded Russell
Wilson. Oh, they did. That's when Geno
Denver
said that people wrote him off, but he didn't write back.
Here's a question for you, Geoff. Because you got to see this guy firsthand for a lot of years, and then he went on to become the all-time passing leader of the NFL, which he no longer is.
All right, here we go. Yeah.
Without Sean Payton, how do we remember Drew Brees?
I'm not sure. I mean, that's a fair question. Are we supposed to lift up Sean Payton here? I don't know.
What I'm saying is, like, he got elevated. I mean, he ended up winning a Super Bowl. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame. Like, would he be a Hall of Famer if he didn't go to New Orleans and had Sean Payton? I would say no.
Who knows what would have happened?
I would say no.
Because no one wanted him. So probably not.
Tim, what do you make of Drew Brees? Like, you think
he would have been a Hall of Famer pretty much anywhere he went?
Same guy that they kicked to the curb for Phillip Rivers.
I get it. Phillip Rivers is also an excellent quarterback.
Sure.
It's not like you were passing him up.
Hold on, that was a little different. I don't want to do revisionist here, but that was in the time where you had to pay the quarterback so much money to walk in the door. And they had already paid Rivers like $28 million like in an upfront signing bonus that they couldn't recoup in a trade, and Drew Brees just tore his shoulder. So, it was like now we have this super cheap quarterback because all we did was pay him a signing bonus, like you had to do back then for those top picks. It's a lot like, yes, like Rivers probably or Breeze probably would have been out the door regardless, but I don't think he was circumstantially. I don't know how anyone with a straight face could say that they were keeping Drew Brees. That's just such a lie, like on any level to live in that moment at that time. Like even Nick Saban told Drew Brees to fuck off and he wanted Culpepper.
Wasn't a great choice. Like,
no, that's the more embarrassing one than the Chargers being like, well, we drafted this kid 4th overall. We've already paid him all that money. You just tore your labrum. I guess this decision is now a lot easier for us than the Dolphins made. Whatever. We both made the wrong decision, I guess.
I'll have the cheat sheet in the newsletter sometime on Wednesday evening after this show ends up getting released. So if people are looking for the win total, actually maybe I'll just release it tonight on Tuesday evening, and then it'll be ready for you. You can get that down in the description or just sub to the free newsletter. You can find all of our picks for both the AFC and the NFC. If you missed the NFC show, go check that one out. Time for division picks. I'll take the Ravens.
Oh, yeah. Same here.
Bengals. Joe Burrow's healthy entering the season.
Geoff only picks cats.
Is that true?
When we do the win draft show with Rob and Cam, we'll see if he see if he has a theme to his picks this year. AFC East. New York Jumbo Jets are the favorites of the AFC East. They are plus 165 to win this division. 10.5 is their win total, Geoff. But the over is plus 115.
I don't want to put air in Tim's tires. I don't know that me being on your side is even a good thing. I love the Jets. I love this roster. I love that receiving core. Garrett Wilson's about to take over. Mike Williams, to me, seems like the perfect Aaron Rodgers receiver because Aaron Rodgers just loves to throw like a prayer, and Mike's actually great at catching prayers when he's healthy. I love the defense. I don't know about the coach, but I think the coach plays quarterback. And I don't hate him. So I'm in. Over. Tim's going to have fun. Tim is going to have fun. They're a way better team than last year. So if you were one of those people that loved the Jets last year and got really excited about the Jets last year, if I know one of those people, I would tell that person, you should be more excited this year. That's what I would say to that person because this roster is better than that roster.
The reigning hypothetical Super Bowl champions, Tim, have the longest active playoff drought in all North American sports. Yeah. I'm aware. I am going to take the under because I work under the premise, along with the coin, who is also going under, that this team is simply cursed and something horrible will happen to them.
Well, sure, but that can happen in January.
It hasn't.
And probably will. And it probably will happen in January, is the way I look at it. Their misfortunes in the playoffs, coupled with Aaron Rodgers' historic misfortunes in the playoffs, do seem like a recipe for something disastrous then, but not in the regular season. When you have the best of everything at every position, you probably should go over your number. So I'm going to say they're going to do that.
Have you
updated?
Have you updated their wins since the last time?
I don't know. I don't know if I've done that or not. There's a lot of wins there. There's a lot of wins. Put it that way. They're not. I'm straining to think a game where I might pick a loss. I don't know where it would be. Sure, it's somewhere, but I can't imagine it.
Well, let's try to find.
Made you pick. You'd force it. Like you would just force it for the sake of math.
So no. I'm sure there's losses there, and I'm not thinking of.
Week 1 at the Niners. Win or loss?
Well, that spread's already come down 3 points to -3. It's going to be a Jets win.
Okay, at the Titans.
That's a freebie. 2-0.
Home opener against the Patriots.
On a Thursday night. That's a W.
All right, home against the Broncos.
That's a W.
Home against Sam Darnold and the Vikings.
That's a W. In London.
You don't think Sammy Scrambles is going to get his revenge on his old team?
Not in London.
At home against the Bills.
On a Monday night. That's a win.
At the Steelers, that game you just talked about.
On a Sunday night. That's a win.
At the Patriots.
That's a win.
At home against the Texans.
On a Thursday night. As you noticed, we only play primetime games because when you're the league's marquee franchise, you only play solo games. I think you've mentioned like 2 o'clock games. They've all been primetime otherwise. That's another win. So we get to Halloween, we haven't got a loss.
All right, so at the Cardinals.
That's a win coming off the mini bye.
It's funny, the schedule really does break great for them. They seem to play all their difficult games at home.
Yeah.
Like the Bills game in London is like the one hard game they don't play at MetLife.
The Vikings game is London.
Oh, is it? So the Bills is actually just in New York?
The Bills is at home. Yeah, it's in New York.
All right, we're in New Jersey. At home against the Colts.
And that's a Sunday night football game. If memory serves, that's a win.
Then you got the Seahawks coming across the country for an early Sunday game.
They go to the Seahawks.
No,
that's right. You're right.
This
is the one.
How is that the one? See, now you're
on the NFC show.
You're a big too big for your britches here. So they're going to win all these games, but Seahawks coming across the country for an early game in Jersey. That's the game they're going to lose.
Yeah, the Jets are 15-1 to be the last undefeated team. Tim, I just looked it up on DK,
and they could be that, but I don't know.
You have them at like 9-0.
Yeah,
you currently have them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have them at 11-0 already.
That's a good start. When you have the best of everything at every position, you don't lose a lot of games.
And then when I mentioned last undefeated team, you're like, they could be that after you just have them going.
They could be that, but they and the other team that I really love this season in the AFC don't play each other. So
Miami,
they don't play each other.
Sorry.
So Seahawks.
I'm going to give that game to Seattle.
At the Dolphins.
That's a win.
At the Jags.
That's a win.
At home against the Rams.
There's too much travel. That's a Rams win.
That's at home.
That's going. But look at the travel.
You just said on the NFC show that you're going under on the Rams. They're not any good.
Yeah, but look, that you go from home to down to Miami to back home.
Oh yeah, just taking the Amtrak down the fucking
home.
East Coast. Yeah, a ton of fucking travel.
There's a ton of travel.
The Rams are going to fly farther to Newark than the Jets will have traveled the previous.
No, but they're on the back end of a bunch of. They're on the back end of a bunch of travel, traveling to Miami.
Yeah, they play 2 games in Florida. They'll probably stay in Florida.
I don't think they will.
Yeah, because it's not so far that you have to. It's an hour-and-a-half flight.
I mean, I don't know why you're yelling at me. You're asking for me to give my opinion.
Yeah, because you're not giving.
And then you tell me how bad my opinion is.
You're not giving a real opinion here.
I am giving a real opinion. I think the Rams. That's 2 NFC losses.
Oh, that vaunted West.
Yeah, at the Buffalo Bills.
I guess I'll have to give Buffalo. I can't go 6-0 in division, so I guess I got to give one. I'll give that to Buffalo in Buffalo.
Your first AFC loss,
and only because the last one is against the Dolphins, who. Yeah.
So,
and the thing is with that Bills game and the Dolphins game, they're not going to be playing anybody.
Who, the Bills or the Dolphins?
The Jets.
Oh, I see.
They'll have this thing wrapped up by, I don't know, hopefully.
Yeah, but you got to play for that 1 seed because you said you have competition at 11-0.
We do, but I think at this point we get it done. We finish with 2 losses, so that's a 15-2 schedule right there.
Yeah, that's actually 14-3 because you had them losing to the Rams, Bills, and Seahawks.
Oh, correct. The Bills too. Yeah, so 14-3. I don't think that's. I mean, that's like the best team in the league is going to have that kind of a record.
And you think the Jets are going to be the best team in the league?
Well, they're the best team in the AFC East, and there's only one other team in the AFC I'm scared of, and they aren't on my schedule.
The Ravens?
Nope, but I'm scared of them too.
The Chargers?
But they're not that scary.
Is it the Chargers?
It is not the Chargers. I kind of like what the Chargers are cooking over there with, Justin only throwing the ball 18 times a game, them doing a lot of running and a lot of sort of zagging when the whole NFL is doing something different. I think the Chargers could be somewhat interesting, but no. We'll get into it. 14-3. I think we're going to be the 1 seed. and probably lose in the first playoff game to somebody stupid.
Congrats, Tim.
Yeah, congrats
Like
on
the
your
Texans.
congrats on your hypothetical 1 seed before the season starts.
Yeah, no, this is a big defense of your title last year. You're going to the 1 seed, and the chips will fall.
Yeah, I hope my whole season isn't ruined 6 minutes in.
Well, you got that Monday night game again.
And I have to be the last person to open up his Christmas presents again. I don't like it. But it's working out well because like half of the good players in San Francisco just can't be bothered to show up for that game, it seems. So that's a good time to catch the 49ers.
I told you before that line dripped how much I like the Jets that week. I just never bet it. So
you did.
I didn't bet it though. So now I'm out.
Good luck, Brock Purdy. Good luck. You're going to need it. A subpar quarterback against some of the best pass rushers and secondary. Probably the best he's ever seen in his career. Good luck.
What if the Jets?
Tim,
what
he's
if
played against Aaron Donald?
Some of, not the best. But I'm talking about in terms of an entire front eight. Good luck.
Hey.
What if the Jets defense isn't as good as last year? Because you had made
It may not be.
You made
It
the
may not
point
be.
about Cleveland earlier that this stuff doesn't translate year over year.
But it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. When you have the absolute worst possible offense and the best defense, you can afford to slip to the 7th best defense because you're going to have like the 8th best or 10th best or 14th best offense. So that's fine. You can absolutely afford to not be as good on D when you're going to move so much ahead on offense.
What if Aaron Rodgers is washed?
It still will be better than what we got from the quarterback position last year. And that team won 7 games.
Sure, but maybe they won't have
nothing.
maybe they won't have the best defense again. What if they have the 10th best defense and they have a
I
mediocre
still think
quarterback?
if he's washed, they still should win 8 or 9 games.
That's under then.
And that's worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario is 8 or 9 wins. Okay, I'm going to mark that down.
I do think so. That's just about worst case scenario. Like, I don't want to get too confident, and I won't get too confident. And I suspect something will go very, very wrong. But I think it'll happen in the playoffs. I'm ready for my heart to be broken there for a change.
Have you read that new Rodgers book?
No, I don't want to. I don't need to. All I need is him to show up on Sunday night or Monday night or Thursday night or whichever solo primetime game we have and play well. That's all I need. That's all I care about.
If he's not good, how quickly are you going to turn on him?
Let me put it this way. I have cut a lot of slack for a long time because I have something that I need here. And so just don't let me down. You've already seen in the preseason Jets fans crying at him, begging for a Super Bowl. I feel the same way. Like we just, please don't let us down again. It wasn't your fault the last time you got hurt. Please don't let us down. We need this very badly.
I love Aaron Rodgers in terms of watching a guy play quarterback is in the top 1, 2, 3 we've ever watched, at least people, our age. I would hate for his career to not end properly, but if it doesn't, I will enjoy after Tim just handed his soul over to him. Tim completely just pulling the rug out and just throwing all his shrapnel, just face turning on him. That will be a great few weeks on the pod.
Yeah, but
if he's truly washed,
it'll be a great few weeks. Or if he gets hurt and Tim turns on him, then we have to hear about how great Tyrod is for 8 weeks.
Tyrod's fine.
Yeah,
he's not great, but Tyrod is so much better than any quarterback they've had over the last several years that it would still be an upgrade.
Hey, Mike White, it's a Hall of Famer.
Who's available. I'd love to have Mike White back.
Geoff, Aaron Rodgers is plus 140 to win Comeback Player of the Year, which I find fishy since I was told he came back last year.
Yeah, I think he should be ineligible. He came back last year, and so he should have won it last year.
I mean, a lot of quarterbacks got hurt. I don't have a case. I got nothing there. And, I was thinking about Tim could be in trouble because I'm not going to space this year. I'm not putting on my spacesuit and walking on the moon. So I don't know what he's going to come after me for. I thought I was in big trouble But, you know, as everything is sort of calmed down, I think he's going to be in trouble, because if I don't go to space, he's got nothing.
Oh,
And I'm not
please.
going to space.
We got 17 weeks on this show for you to demonstrate very poor behavior, which will be, I just have to wait. I just have to be patient.
I'm sorry. I got nothing. I'm going to be calm. Like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'm actually, I'm actually going to run on joy. I'm going to run on joy. And
A lot of people are doing that these days. A lot of people are doing that these days.
You're going to be in trouble when I'm running on joy and you don't know where to throw your arrows.
So do you want my mic to be muted when you're speaking, or should they always be unmuted when we're talking, Geoff? How does joy work in that context?
I don't know, but you're in trouble. Joy's coming for you, Tim.
Okay.
I have a question about the comeback player of the year market. Sam Darnold's 12-1. If the Vikings make the playoffs and he's their starter, he wins, doesn't he? Like, this was my big...
If Joe Burrow plays great, then he would win.
See,
They claim to have changed the rule. Pat.
What's the rule? Because I am seeing also... Where is it? Like, Justin Herbert is 60-1 to win comeback player of the year. I don't quite understand that. Gardner Minshew is 80-1 to win comeback player of the year. He played all last year and played pretty well. What's he coming back? Yeah, what's he coming back from?
Well, but it does seem like after last year, and it took, I guess, the writers not giving it to Hamlin for the league to have some, at least try to, the AP to enforce some sort of rule that you do have to like come back from something, and just sucking or being a backup or not being good anymore is apparently not a good enough reason. But I agree with you, Pat. Like, if the Vikings are fine and good and make the playoffs, I think the voters are just going to revert to their old habits as it pertains to the award.
Yeah, I think without any sort of special circumstance this year that's going to carry a narrative. Like, if Burrow comes back and he's fine and the Bengals win 11 games, or the Vikings, who are, what were they, 5.5, 6.5, they make the playoffs. But it's not like Darnold's coming back from anything either. He was just the backup on San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins is coming back from an injury. He would have the same case to be made. Like,
he's 5-1.
Yeah,
Anthony Richardson's the same. But all those teams are expected to be pretty good. The Vikings aren't. So you get that like double whammy on it. That's why I liked Baker last year, because I liked the Bucks. I was like, hey, if they win the division, it's probably going to be because of Baker, and he has huge odds. He's the one realistic guy that could, and he wasn't coming back from anything. He was coming back from being bad.
From bouncing around, yep.
Sam Darnold is on that underdog pick'em slip, by the way, that you can tail down in the description right now. Like I said, it's $375, pays $7,500. He has to go over 3,400 receiving yards. If he just keeps the job, he's going way over that.
Joe Burrow could win MVP, and they would still like give comeback player of the year to someone else. It's a weird award.
Yeah, Chubb is like, if Chubb comes back and he's awesome in week 5, he probably wins.
he has a good chance to do it too. Yeah, it's a lot. Sure,
Like
it's too early to
like Kyler Murray's on this. He already came back.
And like Justin Herbert had a broken finger that cost him December. Like you said, Pat, that's a ridiculous qualification.
It's better than Minshew's, which I just don't, or Sam Howell, who got benched and is now a backup. Just strange stuff. Let's move to Buffalo. Buffalo is 9.5 this year. They're minus 175 to make the playoffs, plus 195 to win this division. They are minus 145 to the over, and that is where I am going with Buffalo. As great as you guys want to claim that the Jets are, this is still Buffalo's division until they lose it. And we've just seen just think about the Patriots' stranglehold on this division. Even years where they weren't amazing, and they just continued to churn out division championship after division championship. And the Bills don't clearly have the playoff success that the Patriots had. In fact, they had very little playoff success. But the regular season really hasn't been a problem. All they really lost, at least in my mind, that I can figure out, is they don't have Steph Diggs anymore, who Geoff wasn't really doing anything for them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if you had Diggs in fantasy last year, just go look up at last year's box scores. I don't like anything that happened there seemed pretty replaceable. I am quite high on the Jets to be as good as they should have been last year. I'm also very high on the Bills to be as good as they have historically been, because Josh Allen is just that good. And I don't know. I trust their like passing game through the tight end and sneaky fast guy offense. Like, I trust it with Josh Allen. I like it.
And then you always have the bailout, Tim, of, you watch, although the Jets did beat them in week 1 last year, but we've watched enough Jets and Bills games and the Bills overall with Paul being around on Sundays that, it's 3rd and 17. Oh, Josh Allen just ran for it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, Josh Allen, this Bills team reminds me a lot of Baltimore. It's a little worse in every way, but it really just is the quarterback good enough to will this team to the playoffs. I kind of went with you guys with the slight over. I like it. I think the Bills and Allen are good enough.
They're smart enough.
Well, it's, they get to play the Patriots and the Dolphins too. Like
By God,
that's a big plus.
People like them.
So I kind of like Buffalo's spot here. I like them to win those games. I'm very concerned when Allen rolls out. There's nobody you've ever heard of who's going to catch the ball, but they'll figure it out.
He'll make them stars. He'll make a new star.
I think you're right. I think he will. Just because you've never heard of them doesn't mean that you won't have by the end of the year.
I think people like Shakir. He contributed. Coleman seems like he might be all right. He's a hilarious social media follow, if nothing else.
Maybe. Yeah. They got nobody, but he can perhaps spin straw into gold. I think he's that good. He's good enough to do that. So,
and
I get a strong Buffalo.
And it's only 9.5 as well.
Yeah, that's right. You only need 10 wins, and I think the 10 wins are there.
I get a strong Buffalo radio signal in my car here, and they're actually very down on Tyler Bass, who apparently has had a horrible camp and got like a significant speaking to through the media by the coach. This guy better buck it up. But they signed the punter who the woman lied about with an incident, who got kicked out of the league before he even played. So I like that kid, San Diego State. I'm a loyal Aztec.
And you're not big on no class or all class, Tyler Bass?
That's like just listening to these radio guys do a talk radio segment on one of their big concerns.
If people are down on the Bills on Buffalo radio and the thing that they're down about the most is the fucking kicker, I'd say that's a pretty good place to be in.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was a thing they're down on the most.
Listen.
I was surprised that made the list, but I do believe that they will make stars at the receiver position. And I don't know, they have a great D-line, strong secondary. I like the Bills. I think people are down on them. I don't know, perception is off. I think that'll be fixed quickly.
Yeah, like the Jets, they're poorly coached. I don't
think they're poorly coached, but they could be better coached.
I do.
He's a good coach, but he could,
if the Bills fired him this season, there wouldn't be a lineup of people scrambling to hire him for next year.
You know what? I don't know. Like, we've seen so many retreads of fucking Dan Quinn's a coach again.
Dan Quinn actually had to be a very good defensive coordinator for several years in order to get a job again.
I think
he went to a Super Bowl.
I think that people forget that Dallas's D last year was not good, especially in the second half. No, in the second half of the season, it was not good.
I'm not like the biggest McDermott guy, but I don't believe when 7 coaches get fired in an off season, that it will be held that hard against you that you kept losing to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, in my opinion.
The Bills feel, Tim, like drafting Marvin Harrison in fantasy those final 5 years. That people are just over it. People have picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl each of the past 3 years. They're the team that's going to knock off the Chiefs, and they're going to finally get over the hump, and just they didn't. So now people are over it.
Yeah, Bills fatigue. People are on like Houston now or something.
Yeah,
it's just Bills fatigue.
Yeah, the window closed, but that doesn't mean that the new window can't open up. This is a very different team than the team that lost the Chiefs in the title game 4 or 5 years ago.
Sure,
other than Josh Allen,
but the main element is still there. That's the critical element.
One of there was a lot more going on.
Well, they don't have Gabe Davis to catch 4 touchdowns
You're right.
anymore.
He's still there. He's still playing great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, You're the resident Bills guy. How do you feel about Cust going over on the Bills this year?
Intentional sabotage is how I'm kind of feeling
Slight
about
over.
it. If the Bills lose a couple games to start the season, I'm fully expecting Cuz to like come in, dunk on me, and say absurd things. That's what happens on this. He's probably a little bit worried, but like I think you guys are actually overrating the Bills' defense this year.
The Bills' defense is fine. It's
average. I mean, they've lost a lot in the secondary.
Well,
Poyer
wasn't
had
doing
to
anything
leave.
anyway.
What's that? Poyer had to leave. Matt Milano got hurt. He's out for the season. Obviously, he's an inside linebacker. I don't know, man. I think 10, 11 wins is the ceiling for us this year. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't know. My expectations this year are a little bit lower. I think it's like a semi-rebuild.
Yeah, you just don't want.
They had horrible injury luck last year.
I get hurt so often by them that like yes, the expectations are tempered this year. Expect the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah, the expectations are down. Like you can see it in the numbers. Like they've taken a tick down the ladder in people. Like, you know, they were the team to knock off the Chiefs. Now people will probably put 3 or 4 teams ahead of them. I don't know that they're that much worse than anyone else.
Tim, would you put the Miami Dolphins ahead of the Buffalo Bills? Because their win total is also 9.5, juiced to the over at -135 or +205 to win this division. So it's a 3-team race in the NFC East. I know you love the Dolphins historically. Do you like them this year?
Trash. Just trash. No, under. Not a very good team.
Besides,
They basically had everything went as well as it could have gone for them last year, basically. And they barely got to the 6th seed and they scored 7 points in the playoffs by winning, I think, either 10 or 11 games. You're asking me, are they going to do the same thing? No, people figured out the Dolphins by the second half of the year, and they weren't impressive. All those big offensive outbursts came early. Like you talked about the Dallas game. Well, they won the Dallas game because of like a fumble on the goal line and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's not a very good team. I think losing Fangio on the defensive side is going to make a big difference to how this defense plays too. This is a very overrated, huge question mark at quarterback and an aging wide receiver who has been a star, but is another year older. I hate that snowman so much. I don't even know where to start. No, like this Dolphins team is like a 7-10 type of team that Garion hates to cheer for. And that's what they are. They're not the worst, but they were close to good enough to compete.
they're starting with a bunch of guys on injured reserve. Fortunately, no one like absolutely critical. I guess Bradley Chubb is critical to their defense, but Isaiah Wynn on the offensive line, Odell Beckham as their third receiver starting on the PUP list, Geoff. I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around what they're going to be like, because I never thought they were a Super Bowl contender to begin with, but they do seem like a better regular season team than they would be a playoff team. And Tim constantly references the 7 points they scored in the coldest game ever played in the playoffs. How many points did the Chiefs score in that game?
26.
They ended up scoring 26, did they actually? That felt like 14-7 the entire time. And then did they break some out late on the ground?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I feel like it was like 19-7 and they scored a late touchdown.
Yeah, so it's not like the Chiefs were just piling up points on a defense that frankly
The Chiefs weren't an offensive juggernaut last year. Just, again, the Dolphins were supposed to be this revolutionary offense, and Mike McDaniel had totally figured out how to change football when speaking of coaches, when things get close, he's a very bad in-game coach when things get close. He's proven it over and over again.
So here's the problem, Geoff. At the Packers to end November, at the Browns to end December, and then the first week of January at the Jets. So 3 frigid outdoor games. Like, are they going to beat this rep, or are they just going to be a team that sucks in the cold?
It's rep, but I still think they can get over 9.5 wins. I don't know. Tim is so unobjective when analyzing the receivers and the quarterback. It seems like the defense should regress a bit because they lost some big players, Buddy on the defensive line, Van Ginkel. Fangio. You could a couple corners, but you could argue Howard and them were more trouble and probably washed. Be great to get Phillips back, and they also had horrible injury luck. Now that you're replaying it in your head, but they just
Late in
beat
the
up
year,
on the bad
please.
teams. They just beat the shit out of bad teams and really struggled against good teams. Like it was more than the snow stuff last year.
Sure
The whole
was.
narrative on them or the cold. The whole narrative on them until that Cowboys game that Tim says they got lucky. I mean, I don't know, 50-50 play, their incident game. They finally won one. But their whole season was about losing to good teams and beating bad teams. But I still see enough bad teams on their schedule. I think they'll win. I don't know. It's 9 or 10 games. And I'll be on the Dolphins side here. And I like sassy attitude Tua. Good for him.
I think we're misremembering the Dolphins defense last year. They were 20th in the NFL in DVOA defense.
They had a lot of turnovers.
Okay.
They kept having a lot of injuries. But yeah, they'll be worse. They were 20th last year. They'll be worse. You can make the case from a fantasy perspective. You might even like them more because, their defense, they're going to have to score as much as they did last year or more without the turnover luck. And they lost a couple big names on defense.
So you're going over on the Dolphins? I'm going to go under on the Dolphins. I just think that end stretch outdoors until they actually prove that they can do that. And they're playing some pretty good defenses over that time, too. They have the Jets and Browns both projected. I mean, they were both top 3 defenses a year ago, and they're at both those teams the final 2 games of the season. They have the Jets in there again. They have the 49ers in there again. The 49ers, I think, were the 4th-rated defense a year ago, and they're at the Packers. And then their other game is at the Texans, and everyone kind of projects the Texans to be pretty good. So their final 6 games are some of the toughest. They really need to pile up these wins early, which is there for them. But I could see them doing something stupid like splitting with the Patriots, and that just ends any chance they have of the over.
For boy genius, and I like McDonald as much as anybody. I have fun watching them. McDaniel, sorry. I enjoy watching the offensive play. He schemes it up. Having to play them week 1, where he's going to put things on that field that you haven't seen on tape, and your head will be spinning. Saw it last year with my Chargers in a week 1 game. Will not be fun. All that to say, they better do something this year. And that might include winning a playoff game. Because, how could you be boy genius and go 3 years in the league without winning a playoff game?
You won week 1 last year because you guys decided to leave Tyreek Hill in single coverage over and over again.
No, we lost week 1 last year because that fucking corner took a PI at the end of the first half, which gave the Dolphins 3 points. We're good enough to do something like that. That was like a 42-40 game or something stupid.
It was something like that. But now you're competently coached, so those things won't happen.
Hope so. I'm in on Miami though. Over.
Patriots 4.5. Their over is juiced to minus 135. To win the division is 25-1, Tim.
Oh, this makes me so happy.
Seeing
those numbers makes me so happy.
We have not figured out as of this recording who the starting quarterback is going to be for the Patriots. It seems like they really don't want to start Drake May, although Jacoby Brissett sustained a shoulder injury in the final preseason game. It does seem like he is going to be fine for week 1. Do you think, Tim, that they start May or they start Brissett?
They'll start Brissett. I mean, I did read the coach say yesterday that May was 100% the second best quarterback on the team. That's some claim. They'll start Brissett. He'll be awful. They'll go to May. He'll be overwhelmed. They'll win 3 games. That's the way it is.
Really? You think they'll win 3 games?
Yeah, 3-4 games. They're not going to get to 5 wins, which is what they need to get to the over.
When's the last time they played? Oh, they get rid of the Jets early, don't they?
Yeah, this year usually we're backlogged with them, but this year we're not.
Geoff, I was envisioning in my mind that they play the Patriots, and the Patriots and Jets would play week 17 or week 18. It'd be the Patriots who would knock the Jets out of the playoffs somehow.
No, we played week 18 last year. We absolutely ended Bill Belichick's career with the Patriots with a great win, breaking that long streak of victories too.
Oh, that's true. I don't know. What do you make of the new coach? Like, they're going to get Christian Gonzalez back, who was, by all accounts, one of their better defenders last year, drafting him so highly, and then he ended up getting hurt. So they should be a little bit healthier, at least from the onset this year. Maybe a new voice in the room that's not Belichick, although it's a Belichick disciple, is exactly what they need to win some of these closer games and not be just completely inept on offense.
I mean, one of the worst skill position groups in the league.
Oh,
and
yes,
I'd put the
awful.
Chargers. I'd put the Chargers up there with them, but the Chargers have a quarterback who could convert. I mean, I like Drake May, but it's just not a fun place to be. I think they're the favorites, Pat, for first overall. Like it seems like where a lot of people have them going. I don't think there's a team. I think Carolina's win total was even higher. Or maybe it
Weird,
was the
'cause
exact same.
Last year when people thought they'd be bad, I was told the Raiders were so much worse.
Oh my God. I was wrong. Guys, guess what? I made a bet last year. I was wrong. Tim did he even make the bet with me? No.
I only bet you when they played each other in that individual game. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought a Bill Belichick team would still just be like 6-10, I guess 6-11, 7-10. I didn't think the floor would completely bottom out. It did. Yeah, I think I'd be pretty shocked if they didn't draft in the top 3. So what? They get a young cornerback. Like, they're so inept of talent that you can scheme around that.
Yeah, I don't see where you go over on them, like, unless Drake May comes in. Remember, I mean, you were not a victim of this, is Justin Herbert good? Is Justin Herbert not good in his first year? And then he came in and he was really good. Maybe there's a chance in week 3, the doctor comes in with a big needle, stabs Jacoby Brissett in the lung. All of a sudden, Drake May has to play, and he's pretty good, and they win some games. Like, there's that out for the Patriots, I feel like, that Drake May is actually good.
I
might
like
be
Drake
good, but that
May.
doesn't mean they're going to win games. They can
Country
be good
strong.
and they don't win, yeah.
Country strong, friends with Phillip Rivers, stands in the pocket, light on his feet when he's got to move. Like, I'm a big fan. I did not buy into the draft hate around him. It would suck for him to get his ass kicked all year and for them to draft first overall. I don't know whether that means they would, trade that pick, which nowadays always seems to just be a quarterback, but I'm not picking the over. I would pick an alt under before I would pick the over.
I'm actually going to take the over on this. If I'm going to take the under on the Jets and the Dolphins, I feel like the Patriots steal a win from one of the teams in the division, don't go completely 0-for-6 this time around. And I think we do forget, like, their special teams was incredibly bad last year. That wasn't really indicative of how the Patriots have been over the past decade or so. Maybe they can turn that around. And they did have a top 10 defense, as the Jets proved last year. Despite having the worst quarterback situation in the league, a good defense can steal you a few wins. So maybe the Patriots
A top
can
10
do that.
defense coached by the greatest defensive coach in the history of football, who's not there anymore.
Sure. But I would expect their offense to be better.
Maybe there's a significant decline from that. Maybe a significant decline.
I mean, you have the guy who was there figuring everything out. It's basically the same
You
players.
think he's figuring things out? Do you think he was figuring? I don't actually. I don't think he was figuring.
So you're just out on Gerard Mayo, like he's useless, is what you're saying.
I have no opinion on him one way or the other, but I don't think he was that consequential. Last year's coaching staff. Let me put it that way.
But they just gave him the head coaching job because of vibes.
I wait to see him on Patriots All Access.
All right. So,
No, I mean, it's a very difficult position to be in. But I can't wait to see him on Patriots All Access. See what he has to say.
I'm sure there've been an off-season episode you could watch.
I don't usually watch it unless they're playing the Jets. It just gets me angry.
all right, I'm gonna.
But usually it gets me angry because Belichick is so dishonest. So maybe it won't get me angry this time.
Well, you can,
Belichick going to be a TV star. He's going to be so good.
well, this show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can use code Mayo on Underdog Fantasy, get that deposit bonus of up to $1,000, and play in the Pick'em pool for the $25,000 that's up for grabs, guaranteed. All that information is down in the description. But Geoff, Bill Belichick also gonna have a show on Underdog.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. That's right. I think he's going to be great. I mean, sure, he was cagey as a head coach. I think he's got a lot to say. I think he's going to be great. I think Brady's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to take the Bills to win this division. Tim?
Jets.
Geoff?
I'll go with you, Pat.
Really?
I think Bills by the tiebreaker.
I feel like it's the Bills' division to lose until they finally lose it, and maybe this ends up being the year. But I think it would probably watch the Patriots. Should we bet the Patriots 25-1 to win this division? That maybe Belichick was secretly the problem all along.
I think it's a down year. It's part of the plan. They traded Judon for a third. I mean, I could see them trading more guys at the trade deadline this year.
Like Kendrick Bourne?
Hunter Henry,
No one left. The Patriots in Belichick's time, they left the cupboard empty when he left.
which is also why it's really unfortunate for Drake May to play. I know it's rare these days, but behind that O-line with those receivers, it's just not fair. It's not fair. Look at the receivers in Chicago. Look at the offensive skill position players in Washington.
No,
proven bodies.
Let's not push the whole Washington agenda here. They have Terry McLaurin and a bunch of goobers.
It's still a lot better than what New England has.
Okay, fine. I don't want to overrate it, but it just seems like there's a level of I don't know. I just feel better about it. The kid, and sometimes you could see whether you could sink or swim right away. I don't know. This kid might need some fine tuning, despite him looking good in the preseason. I feel bad if Jacoby's hurt and they've got to rush him in, because once you put him in, it's hard to bench him without it then being awkward.
That gets us to the midway point of the show, which means that it's time for a mini version of Cust Corner.
Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner,
Apparently, it's the worst thing in the world to say that a band is incredibly overrated and that their quote-unquote comeback tour is very unimpressive to me. Apparently, that's it's completely unacceptable to say. A few of you people online have been supportive of me, but the fact of the matter is that I'm not excited for Oasis to get back. I almost have to probably explain to people on this podcast who Oasis is, because they haven't been a band for 15 years. So if you're under the age of 40, there's a decent chance you've never heard of them. But they're an English band who apparently are so amazing. You haven't seen them in concerts, so you haven't really heard them. That is a terrible argument for a band, because 99% of people are going to consume the music through the album, through the recording. So if they're only really amazing in person, that's a problem. And no, I'm not excited for them to get back together. I'm not excited for to know that they're traveling. Their music's not that good to begin with, and I'm allowed to think that. I'm sorry, this is not the second coming of Beethoven.
Why do you think you can't hold this opinion?
Well, I said it today, and people were like, "Oh, well, you clearly wrapped up the 2024 title, and how dare you criticize Oasis the day that they've finally got back together? Oh, what a terrible thing I've done to say. I think this band is incredibly overrated." Thankfully, some people like the tour junkies were on my side, but very few people were.
The tour junkies who made a full stop when they started impersonating Tupac, Geoff?
I like those guys. All love, big fan. The tour junkies are on my side. This is man, you put any air in Tim's tires, he will retweet you. That's quite clear. I don't know. I don't support Tim knocking Oasis. People love Oasis. I enjoy Oasis. Some hardcore, no, but they're a pop culture phenomenon on top of everything. I don't know why you need to shit on the parade when they get back together and people are happy about it.
What are people happy about? Oh, that this band that's apparently only good in person is getting back together after 15 years? If they cared about their fans so much, why were they apart for 15 years?
Well, they don't.
Well, that's part of the
They don't care
mystique.
about
It's
their
of the whole.
fans.
Then they don't care. Then why are you excited? You see,
I'm actually
Brothers
excited.
that have bad
I'm
blood.
excited to go see them. They're one of the few acts that I haven't seen that I would want to go see.
ugh. Like I said on Twitter, if they were playing on my patio here, I'd close the curtains.
Ridiculous. Like that's bullshit. You close the curtains.
And I don't like. Why would I want to go listen to subpar English music?
You don't have to like it to acknowledge that
That
other people.
People like it and it's popular.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure it even is popular. It was popular 15 to 20 years ago when they were a band that people had heard of, not a classic rock band, which is what they are now.
I mean, you basically
Like, do you think people who are in their early 20s have the first idea who these people are?
Yeah, unfortunately, people in their early 20s can't afford shit. This is geared towards people our age and older. You're
You're not fooling me.
well, I mean, you're still holding out for the Matchbox 20 reunion.
Look, Rob Thomas is 100% a better musician than either of the Gallaghers.
They're gonna shove 70,000 into stadiums. Rob Thomas would play Casino Rama right now.
I don't think that's true.
Let's see. Can we find Rob Thomas on tour? He's actually playing on Tim's patio later, I think.
Well, the curtains will be open for that one.
Rob
I
Thomas.
don't know this.
Upcoming events. Rob Thomas. He is playing at casinos. He's playing the Thunder Valley Casino, the show at Agua Caliente Casino in Rancho Mirage, California.
Okay.
And Oasis is going to sell out Wembley Stadium.
For 5 nights or something.
Am I supposed to be impressed by this?
A little bit, yes.
Well, if you
'Cause I'm
see
not.
if you see the juxtaposition, or as Geoff would say, the justice of position of these two takes, that listen, you can hate Oasis all you want. I don't care that you don't.
I don't
like
even
Oasis.
hate them. I just don't think they're that good. What I don't
Okay.
like are people trying to tell me that they're amazing because they aren't.
I mean, you just had the Jets going 17-0.
No, I didn't.
Well, you wanted to, but then you had to pretend like they weren't going to go 17-0 because we know what you're up to.
No,
But-
you don't get to put words in my mouth.
I'm just something like music. It's art. It's subjective. People are clearly really excited. It's just the fact of how old you are. We are like the 90s. Anything, just hits harder, and you're gonna shit on people for being really excited about something like that. It was just weird to me. So yeah, I was one of these people who were like, "No, Tim, screw that take. That's not a fair take today."
You said you close your curtains.
Oh, okay.
You obviously hate them. You can't say that you don't hate them.
I don't
Right?
care for them. They're not the world. Like, they have a couple of good songs, like almost every band. But like, to say that they're like this amazing rock band, like, give me a break.
What would you say are your 3 favorite Oasis songs? And if they have a couple good songs, give me your top 2.
I like Don't Look Back in Anger. I think that that's a good beat. I like Stand By Me. I think that's a good song. And I like What's the Story, Morning Glory. I like that song too.
But just the story, like their story, is compelling of itself from the origins to now. And like, the real.
Then you should get on a private jet then, Geoff, and fly over to Wembley Stadium and get a VIP backstage pass and hang out with them.
Okay, firstly, that sounds awesome. That's not me, but I don't like them enough.
Surely one of your friends on the bridal path
them.
can lend you their PJ for the day.
I don't like them enough to fly across, the pond to go see them, but I'm expecting it will be a world tour. And when they do come to Toronto, I will go. And it takes a lot for me to want to go to a concert. And I would look forward to going to that.
Yeah, and I think that especially for people who are our age and slightly older. So if you're currently between the ages of, let's say, 37 and 50, that you remember how big they were in the mid-90s, and then they just kind of went away when they broke up, and you just didn't really hear much about them forever. So there's that mystique to them as well, because they were getting talked about like at the height of the Brit pop wars. The people were just like, yeah, these are basically the next Beatles. Like, I think you forget that part of it, of just how big of a pop culture phenomenon they were.
As a self-proclaimed pop culture savant,
Maven.
you are.
A maven of pop culture, yes.
I mean, they were a big deal, but I think that hype was unjustified. The music wasn't worth it. The lyrics are, you can't understand half of the things that are being said in those songs. They don't make any sense. They're incoherent. And I'm not going to pretend like, oh, I'll just overlook that because it's got a good beat. No, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, okay, if you're 48 years old and you're real excited to see the Gallaghers play together again, I guess, good for you. Enjoy standing next to 70,000 other deranged people at Wembley and enjoy it.
Deranged people, huh?
Well, just deranged in the sense that like they'd go out of their way to go to see them in concert.
Deplorables?
No. I should be up by 50 points by now. No, I am of the opinion that that it's not impressive that they've gotten back together and have announced a tour a year from now, and I don't have to be impressed. But apparently, it's a terrible opinion to have, and I've locked up the craziest award of the year for saying I'm not impressed.
But how many acts in the entire world could do what they're like? Could do 4 or 5 nights selling out Wembley Stadium?
I don't know.
3, 2, 3, 4. How many?
A few, I'm sure. I don't know. I don't know.
Not a few might be a reach, to be honest.
Matchbox 20? Because there's still currently
they should
tickets available at the show at the Agua Caliente Casino if you want one. It's $80 for a VIP ticket.
That'd be pretty cool.
You should go. You should go line up.
Maybe. Well, given the age of the performers at the Super Bowl these days, why don't they ask Oasis to perform?
I mean,
that's the generation that performs now. So why don't you ask them to come?
Getting them to actually do a concert a year from now is probably a pretty big ask, knowing their track record. That trying to sign them to the Super Bowl is probably not going to be the greatest idea.
Yeah, I would like. How do you put this? I think if you're the Super Bowl or the NFL, you might want to see them like get along for 3 months before you invite them to like host the Super Bowl. Like, you might need to see them do at least a show or 2 together before you believe it and book them. But one day, if they're actually don't hate each other again, I don't think you're wrong, Tim. I think they could do a Super Bowl in a few years. Like, you're not wrong that they probably do fit the age demo that the halftime shows are coming to, and they're gonna hit that pretty soon. So if they don't hate each other, they'll do it.
Oh, you can go to Declassified in Washington, D.C. with Ben Folds presents Rob Thomas. So it's Ben Folds and Rob Thomas playing together, Tim.
I like Ben Folds.
Yeah, bricking is fun. Na, na. That's the only song I know about from Ben Folds. Brick. Not as good as the movie Brick, though.
Still sounds more enjoyable than going to Wembley Stadium to listen to Oasis.
I mean, I'll go to Rogers Center because I doubt they're going to play here. I would guess that they're going to play like Skydome or ACC or whatever it is. Maybe I'll have to go to Boston.
Olympic Stadium.
Do they do concerts at Olympic Stadium?
They certainly used to.
Well, that's great. I mean, I guess they used to play together.
I presume the building's not condemned, so I presume they do.
It's tough to get out to Olympic Stadium versus the Bell Center, which is downtown.
I guess.
Yeah, but if you want 60,000 people, you're not getting them at the Bell Center.
What are the odds they don't even make it to the first show?
50-50. The first show was like in July. This is August.
I'd be in, is all I'm saying, is to go see them. And you can hate Oasis as much as you want, but you have to, I guess, recognize that people like them.
Boo.
And it's not like disturbing that people like a popular band.
No. That's not. No, what I didn't like was that people would attack me for saying I think they're very overrated, because they are very overrated.
Did anyone attack you? I'm looking at these comments right now.
Yes, they're all against me. Well, not all. People like the tour junkies. They agreed with me, but there were, and there's a smattering of others who did, but most people were opposed.
Okay, that's just because they oppose you having an unpopular take.
I did not expect that reaction. It took me aback.
Well, maybe it seems like you've really underrated the cultural impact of Oasis.
Evidently, I did. That this band who couldn't be bothered to perform for its fans for the last 15 years is beloved when I don't think it should be. Its music's not that very good.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
Geoff will go. Geoff will tell us all about it.
I'll go too. I'll go with Geoff. But do you have anything else that you wanted to get off your chest, or should we move on?
That's what's been bothering me today.
Okay.
Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Supercharger, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
Everyone who tunes into the Pat Mayo Experience knows from time to time I like to talk to you about some health supplements that I end up taking, and I've been doing Timeline's Mito Pure now for about a month. Feel great? And I think you can too. Take 2 soft gels a day for 2 months, and you can see significant improvements in your cellular energy, your muscle strength, and your endurance. That was the big thing. I've been golfing more this summer and lifting less. Yet when I go back to the gym for my once a week, like max lift, I am not really atrophying that much. I'm not losing a ton of muscle, which is absolutely fantastic news for me and my golf game, because if you work out too much, then you get too sore, you get too stiff, you need to retain that flexibility. I'm retaining my muscle mass at the same time, although I'm not working out as much, and it comes in 2 product designs to fit your needs. They're berry powder, which is great to mix into your breakfast yogurt or daily smoothie. That's how I've been doing it. I've been eating some strawberries, raspberries, blackberries with a little bit of yogurt, a little bit of protein powder, then boom, Timeline's Mito Pure right on top of that. Or they have soft gels for the days where you're just on the run and wanted something convenient to grab and go. So, Timeline is offering 10% off your first order of Mito Pure right now. So go to timeline.com/Mayo to get that 10% off. All right? The Kansas City Chiefs, Geoff, in your division, the AFC West, 11.5 wins is the win total, minus 260 to win the division, 3-1 to win the conference, 5-1 to win the Super Bowl. I'm just going to go over. I don't like the rest of this division, and I think that they can beat up on the rest of the AFC West pretty handily. Maybe 5-1 in the division. Does that sound right, Geoff?
I mean, they really could win 3 straight Super Bowls. I don't think I've thrown a stone at them in a long time. Can't do anything but admire them and their ability to win different ways. And I feel like they will be even better offensively with their new setup and their new toys, be it the draft or Hollywood Brown coming back from injury.
And Rashee Rice just not being suspended?
Oh, well, that's bullshit. That is don't make a parlay, but do what. Yeah, that's just not cool. That's not cool. But I guess whatever. That's a real monster. The kicker, not a monster. Rasheen Rice, monster. Oy vey. Oy vey. But like Hollywood celebrities won't attack Rasheen Rice, they'll attack the kicker. By the way, my wife works. She's really fucking good at her job. And I'm proud of her. She's a great mother also. This team's amazing. They're not going backwards. Spags, who's better than that guy? They lost Snead. You play them as a division. You see these 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks just come and play and be good. It's not fair. Proactive with signing the center, who's amazing. I'm sure it was a team-friendly deal because they're so good at that over there. They're dominant. They're so good. The record Tim thinks the Jets will have, the Chiefs will probably have. Number 1 seed, AFC, over. Easy.
Are they just, Tim, are they going to end up being like the Patriots? Because we kind of saw them just go through this, basically pulled a Jimmy Carter. They had a malaise forever until they didn't all of a sudden, and they were the Chiefs again, and they were unstoppable. Do we just think like they bet against them against the spread early in the season, then do the opposite at the end of the year?
No, just pick them constantly. You'll be fine. Very rarely to go off course too much. I kind of agree with Geoff on most of the things he said there, and I certainly like the over a lot.
It's a round of overs for all of us. Are they going to win 3 straight Super Bowls? Do you think, is this the team that you were talking about, Tim?
Yes, it was.
So you're worried about the Chiefs. That's probably sensible.
Yes, it is sensible.
And I don't know how, not that it matters, but like the league, the players voting Mahomes as the 4th best player, and the Raiders showing up to training camp, like trolling him with Kermit the Frog dolls. And somehow they're going to play that as like the world being against them in some weird way after their road playoff run a year ago. Like, fuck, man. Everyone's screwed.
Who walks into the voting room for this NFL Top 100 and doesn't put Mahomes at number 1? It seems crazy.
People who have access to grind.
Yeah, clearly,
that's
right?
the only reason. That's the only logical reason I could come to.
I mean, I know Tyreek Hill. Who are the other players ahead of him?
Lamar, I think.
I think Tyreek Hill was number 1.
Was he really?
Yeah, which, again, if you're going to do a fantasy draft in real life of players, like Tyreek Hill wouldn't be in the first 30 players picked.
Like, I have no doubt they'll have a couple games they get, they sleepwalk through and they'll get nipped. But the road playoff run last year, like they just probably feel like they got a superpower now that's stronger than whatever they even had previous, which was already incredible.
The 3 players better than Patrick Mahomes, as voted on by the players, I guess. Tyreek number 1, Lamar number 2, and Christian McCaffrey number 3.
Okay, whatever.
I believe he beat all 3
ridiculous.
of those guys in the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess he did.
That's correct. That's correct.
Myles Garrett was voted as the 5th best player.
Oh,
Interesting. Anyway, yeah, so just, it's not super fun to talk about the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs are going to be good. We're all going over. Chargers, Geoff, 8.5. Juiced up to minus 155. After feeling like everyone was off the Chargers, it now seems at 8.5 wins, everyone is now on the Chargers to go over that number. Where do you stand on Jim Harbaugh, the Chargers, Justin Herbert, and what we're going to get this year?
I
No,
really
no
have-
Parham. Cut.
yeah, Parham cut today. That's kind of been expected. I mean, literally statistically, the worst blocking tight end in football isn't making the Jim Harbaugh roster. I have no idea what to expect. I'm expecting we won't be the dumbest team anymore. Like, we will not, if we are in a dogfight late, you will not be able to win just by doing nothing and us giving it to you. Like, I feel like that is all I can hope for. That's all I feel certain about. That's not saying we're going to win every close game, but we're not going to be that team anymore. We had to gut this thing, and the roster sucks. I'm not like down. I'm down on them, but like I'm excited for what the future probably holds because I'm confident it's going to work in the long term. But right now they had to gut it. And what did they do first? They're like, well, we got to gut this thing. And we're not going to be able to replace the 2 receivers we let go in this receiver world. And we're going to make sure we build that foundation. And Joe Alt, I know it's preseason. The guy has looked phenomenal. In about 50 snaps, 30 of them, I think, were passing downs, and there was like 1 half pressure. The guy just looked so good right away. And maybe the offensive line is good, and it can make them competitive, and Herbert can convert 3rd downs. There's a lot of weaknesses on this team. Receiver, corner, right? Like important positions that a lot of teams in the league will be able to exploit them on. That is my concern. What is the ceiling? Like just a good offensive line controlling the pace of games, Herbert being really clutch.
And not beating yourself.
Yeah, but that's a lot of things, Pat. It's like the golfer profile of like betting on the not good golfer. Like he's going to have to play perfect to win the games. I don't know. I think they're going to win 7, 8, or 9 games. That's a wide berth, but I don't think they're going to be great. Like, I don't think that's good. And I think the floor is kind of high. Between the coach and the quarterback, I think the floor is kind of high, but I'm not hyped. I don't think they can break me. And that's gonna, like I said, I'm not going to space this year. I'm not putting on a spacesuit and acting all crazy.
What will it take you to get sucked in and start going crazy?
Oh, fuck. We're going to lay.
Quentin Johnson catching 2 touchdowns week 1 and looking like a star.
Okay, so I thought about this because I haven't had these like urges of pure adrenaline that I even got last year. Be like, you thought they were going to suck last year and they sucked. I didn't. I was still ready. Like, no, there's like juice left in this part of what's happening, this run and gun. We can do it. But yeah, I feel like I'm not going to space, but part of me does feel like Godzilla's inside of me trying to roar.
Well,
and he wants to roar.
Here's what happens. Let's just live in a world, Tim, where in week 4, the Chargers beat the Chiefs at home in that America's Game of the Week, the late Sunday afternoon game. If they do that, basically all their other games are coin flips. And if they are better coached, they don't just throw away games. They have the Raiders, Panthers, Steelers, Broncos, Cardinals, Saints, and Browns and Titans to start the year, along with the Chiefs. They could be 9-0.
Shut up. What are you doing?
They could certainly be 7-2.
Yeah, like they could start out really hot here with the schedule, and then their schedule
absolutely
gets
could.
tough.
This is why I like the over for this team. I think there's a lot of early wins. I think they're well coached.
I have little dinosaur arms, and don't make me roar. Like I'm okay, sure.
I like this team to be competitive. Geoff talked about trash teams vying for that last playoff spot way too late in the year. Well, I think the Chargers are going to vie for that last playoff spot till late in the year. There's enough talent there, both on behind the whistle and on the field, that I think the Chargers will be competitive.
No, but they really are depleted in talent. I'm telling you.
They are.
Like,
they're not a team that could win the Super Bowl. You're right. They're a team that's going to be like trying to limp into the last playoff spot.
I don't even think so.
Our interior defensive line scares the shit out of me. Like I get shivers when I look at that depth chart. It's like Morgan Fox, Otito, some Tate they just got from the Titans. Like it's a scary group. I don't know what to expect from the linebackers. They have great edge rushers, Bosa, Mack, Thule, Bud Dupree, like that. It will be the strength. Jesse Minter from the Mike McDonald tree, like, but I don't know. Like they are so weak at corner and interior defensive line, wide receiver. You could argue running back, but like that's really fixable. There's just too many weaknesses, and between their salary cap situation, they couldn't really address much last year.
They have 4 hard games this year where they will be substantial underdogs. Maybe they end up being a huge underdog to the Falcons, but I don't think the Falcons are an elite team by any stretch of the imagination. They play the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Chiefs twice. Every other game is entirely winnable on their schedule.
And
I agree.
As like truly, in my, like I close my eyes, I click my heels together, and I do get excited at the prospect of the type, if they truly do have like a winning season, the type of praise Justin Herbert would get
the credit
for dragging this group of skilled position players around him.
He's not getting any
Jim Harbaugh will get all the credit.
He gets all the credit.
But your eyes are going to watch the games. There's going to be so many clutch third, like yeah, Jim Harbaugh will get credit, but it will, when it actually happens in action, you won't be able to help but acknowledge, like, no, this guy's dragging them all with him. He does. Stays cool and collected. Shared experiences.
Want to remind everyone as well on Friday, August 30th, that it's Fill It Up Friday at Underdog Fantasy, meaning that all existing users on Underdog Fantasy use code Mayo and you can get yourself a 10% re-up bonus. It's usually just the first-time customers who get the big bonus of up to $1,000. If you're an existing customer and you're putting more money on, you can get a 10% bonus on Fill It Up Friday, August the 30th with code Mayo. I'm going over, Tim. Sounds like you are too.
Sure. I am.
I truly feel the Chargers are, and you could argue, because I've argued in the past, it's like one of the worst places to be, but because it's the first year with a new coach that I'm excited about, it kind of softens the blow. I truly feel we will be the epitome of like a mid team this year.
But
I hate that, but I think it's just kind of the reality of this exact moment.
I don't disagree with you. The one thing that I don't want to happen to you is that they start out 7-2 and get to 11-4 or something like that. And then you think that they're actually good and they're going to win a playoff game. But if this team gets in the playoffs, this is the team to bet against in the first round.
Yeah, sure. But if this team gets to the playoffs, the O-line is amazing and we're controlling tempo.
Yeah, because you beat the shit out of the Cardinals and the Titans and the Buccaneers.
You're right. Okay, you're right. You're right. No, it's a last place schedule. Can they take advantage of it? It's a last place schedule with the NFC North. I still think they're going to be mid, but I'll say 9-8 mid. Like just me having to make the pick. I'll go over. I'm not betting it. I know in real life you actually have to lay the juice to do it, and I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it. But for having to verbalize it, I'll lay it.
One of the biggest him, -155 to bet the over on the Chargers 8.5.
Crazy.
It's
people like Harbaugh.
It's
people
the
like
schedule.
Herbert. Yep.
It's the
But
same.
I guess they just feel like an 8, people will crush them at 8, and at 9 they'll take no bets, or it'll be too heavy to the under. I don't know, because they're not going to win 10. So if you make it 9, like you'll take a lot of unders.
I think you'd get action on the over of 9.5 because, like I said, the schedule: Vegas, Carolina, Steelers, Broncos, Cardinals, Saints, Browns, Titans, Falcons, Bucks, Broncos, Patriots, and Raiders. It
Just nothing but wins there.
win 80% of those games and you have 10 wins. Anyway, so
Week 1, Raiders. Can't wait.
Round of overs. The coin, though, does not believe in your Los Angeles Chargers, Geoff. The coin is going under. How about Vegas starting Minshew Walk, your guy, Tim, at quarterback? 6.5 is the win total. 10-1 to win the division. 3-1 to make the playoffs. I never think the Raiders are going to be good, so I'm just going to go straight under for them.
I'm going to go under. What they haven't improved in any significant way. They hired a coach they were forced to hire because there would have been a mass revolt in the locker room if the second interim coach in 3 years didn't get the job. They have Gardner Minshew, who's not very good. They have Devonta Adams, who wants out. Like, the vibes are not good. The Raiders are just in a very stacked conference. I just don't see very many paths for the Raiders to win very many games. So 6-11 is right where they ought to be, maybe even 5-12. So I'm going to take the under.
Round of unders, Geoff? Or are you going to believe in the Raiders this year after getting burned by them so badly last year?
Yeah, burned big with the alt unders as well. I got a buddy out in Vegas who also hates the Raiders, and he told me some casinos out there were posting 7s, I guess at -110, playing on the like local market. So I'd certainly want a piece of that. I'll play the Raiders under 6.5. I do not have the guts to play alt unders. That's reserved for somebody else. Tim alluded to something, and I'll make it about me again.
Okay. Have you ever done that before?
I cannot. Well, like usually like long-winded through shows, but haven't brought them up much, and I figured I could save this for the Raiders segment. in my head, my long-term dream is that Thursday night football game changed the course of everything for both teams. I know the score wasn't 62-7, but in my mind, it will always be 62-7. It embarrassed the Chargers so much to fire Staley. It embarrassed him so much to have to pay a coach. And it really did lay the groundwork. He also went on to beat the Chiefs. But there was rocket fuel put on by that Thursday night game for Antonio Pierce. Who was the favorite to hire Jim Harbaugh before that Thursday nighter kicked off in the following year? It was the Raiders. It was the Raiders. So in the end, he ended up on the Chargers. I think there's a high floor ceiling variance on what Pierce could be. I'm hoping it's the floor. I'm anticipating it's the floor. They doubled down by hiring a GM who hasn't had a second day draft pick re-sign in 6 years. How the fuck you build a football team? Okay? They hired that guy. Let's go. Let's go. Maybe I will play the alt-unders. So many playmakers on offense, though. But Minshew sucks.
I mean, they have a few. They have Devontae Adams on offense. They have Zamir White, who's a mediocre back who they're going to start. Jacoby Myers, who I like and scores the first touchdown of every game for the Raiders. So that's the bet on him.
Except when you pick Meyer not to get the first touchdown of the game.
They signed Christian Wilkins, the defensive tackle from Miami, who's incredible.
Okay.
But defensive tackles in free agency at big money, there's a long history of those never panning out, and I hope it doesn't. The guy's a beast.
I was looking at Raiders. Fewest wins, 12-1. The only thing...
I think the odds are too short.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think you're getting enough value there.
I don't know. This is usually where the worst record comes from, is this. And I've hit this the last 2 years. I hit Chicago and I hit Carolina last year. And it's been in this range is where everything comes from. They have the Titans at 8-1 for the fewest ones. I mean, we'll get to the Titans. I think they're going to be fine. I think when we get to the Broncos, they're going to be fine. The Panthers play in a shit division. It could be the Giants. It could be the Commanders. It's probably not the Vikings. The Patriots are the heavy favorites, which they should be. But 12-1 I can just see this team being really bad. The biggest thing that they have in their favor, let's throw out the 2020 season because fans weren't really around for that. But in the past 3 years, they've been well above 500. They had 1 year at 500 and 2 years above 500 at home, Geoff. It's still baked in that I don't know if the lines reflect it or not. I'm sure that they do. But when teams go to play in Vegas, that they might not give their best effort that Sunday.
That's interesting because their home field advantage, you could argue they've lost it if you've panned out and ever looked at the crowds there outside of playing 3 teams in the entire league.
Yeah, but it's not as much as the fans being there as a home field advantage. It's that the team gets to Vegas, they fucking go out, and then they have to. It's like when it's like the Sunday afternoon Raptors. When just all of a sudden the Raptors were undefeated for 3 years on Sunday afternoon at 1 Eastern.
Sunday at noon.
Yeah,
at noon.
Because all the other teams were too fucking hungover to play.
Yeah, because it didn't count as cheating if it was in another country. And we got a fun downtown. Obviously, the thing that would have to go or break your way here, Pat, is it starts poorly. Clearly, they trade Devontae Adams, and it's sort of like an organizational mandate. We're going to be bad, and we're going to draft that quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be afraid to tank if it goes bad. They'll put AOC back in there.
Minshew, the one thing maybe it's a comment for next week, but he was the preseason leader in starting guys who will start week 1 dropbacks. And last year, it was a very favorable win-loss record versus players who played in the preseason versus players who didn't. So Minshew's got a lot of reps in this summer. Herbert, not many.
Round of
Rodgers,
unders.
none.
Rodgers, none. Well, he's got reps throwing a ball at the Sphinx in Egypt or something like that. Is he back from Egypt yet?
Yeah, he is. He's back and ready to roll.
Pat, when Tim pops and he lists one by one his 2-year-long list of grievances on things Aaron Rodgers did, he is going to be one of the greatest segments ever.
The critical games for the Raiders for like if they end up with the fewest wins. Week 3 and week 5, you should probably know by then because they play the Panthers and they play the Broncos. They lose those games and start 0-5. It's on. That'd be my takeaway, at least. Just playing the other teams around that. It's just like when it was the Bears lost to the Texans in the last week to get the number 1 pick, right, Geoff? Is that what happened?
Bears lost to the Texans
2 years ago.
Yeah, Lovie Smith screwed the Texans. Yeah.
Yeah, out of the number 1 pick. Although it really worked out in their favor because they got Stroud.
Yep.
All right, Denver tap up next. 5.5 over to -130. I am going over on the Broncos 5.5. I just think that they're better than the Raiders. It's one fewer win. And listen, I don't know how much you can put into the preseason, although we did see preseason MVP Zach Wilson have another electrifying preseason game for the Broncos, Tim. And it looks like he is going to make the team as the 3rd-string quarterback. But Bo Nix looks all right, and I think that he can execute what Sean Payton wants. Now that they've kind of flushed everything down the toilet of Russell Wilson, losing those picks, trying to rebuild, I think that we're finally starting to see this team, at least this offense, get formed into what Sean Payton wanted it to be when he first came over, and he didn't feel like he had the right pieces. Now, he's going to be there for a while, but I do feel like you need to see some improvement from this Broncos offense to be efficient again if he is going to be taken seriously going forward.
Sure. I agree with all of that. I do agree with your over. I think the over-under is too low. I'm not super convinced that Bo Nix, who was everybody's last choice at quarterback, is somehow the right person to get Denver going in the right direction. I don't know. Maybe he is. I doubt it. But at the same time, they have more defensive talent than the Raiders do. I just don't look. I can't imagine looking at these rosters and saying I like Oakland better than I like Denver. I just can't. So
well,
I'm going to.
There's no team in Oakland, so that would probably be why.
I'm going to take the Broncos to go slightly over that number.
The Broncos defense is horrible.
Now that's not necessarily true. They had the game where they gave up the 100 points to the Dolphins last year. They didn't even finish as the worst defense after.
Yeah,
that.
it got much better after that. That was sort of a come to Jesus moment for them.
They've lost some quality starters. I don't think it's going to be a better unit. I'm getting plus money to bet them under 5.5.
Correct.
Which means when I play them on their alt unders, it's almost at like plus 200 to play them at -4.5, which I will be doing alongside my under 5.5. Like the Raiders, Raiders cost me the money last year. I'm liking this late height on the whole operation there because it's created an opportunity, I believe. Alt under.
You're the only one going under. Even the coin is going over with Tim and I on the Broncos. It's just Bo Nix might not be any good, Tim. I agree with you, but I think he's in the right spot for what his skill set is.
Maybe. But this team's got 6 wins in them, and that's enough to get it over.
Yeah,
he absolutely is in the right spot because I believe, I do believe in some of what is being said that, he will be willing to make the open throws short that for some reason Russell Wilson wasn't able or willing to make.
We'll see when we get into actual games, whether that's the case.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
It's just
I
idle
hope
chatter.
he's a bust.
Just chatter until now.
I hope he's a bust. Not too much of a bust where they'll want to try again next year. You're almost how I say it. I'm a horrible quarterback evaluator, but you want to see some ceiling where they want to stick with it. But yeah, I'll be honest, in the same way Tim hopes Drake May sucks. Anytime a division rival drafts a first-round quarterback, you hope that's not the guy you'll be playing in 10 years.
I think people forget they were 9-8 last year.
A ridiculous 9-8. Look at the points they were scoring. Do you remember those games? They couldn't even move the ball. Oh, I want to bring up the schedule. It was so ridiculous. That Buffalo game, I don't want to give Paul nightmares. I don't. Oh.
Was that the Christmas Eve game? Oh, that was against the Patriots, which was another ridiculous
Their
game.
turnover luck was so stupid and insane. They couldn't even score touchdowns, and they were winning. It was, It bothered me so much.
They lost to the Patriots on Christmas Eve. By the way.
Yeah, but it was like that. It was a ridiculous game. It ended with I think it was a long field, but ended with like this weird field goal to finish.
No, I understand that. It was just they didn't beat the Patriots, who were objectively terrible last year, and they still went 8-9.
It was the most inflated 8-9.
Sure, but now their win total is 5.5, and by all accounts, I think we all agreed that they couldn't have got worse at quarterback.
No. Yeah, there's a like, I agree. You could totally convince someone they're going over that signs point to it being right. I just feel like there's just been too much hype around them in that they've got it right. The way I don't have this vendetta like Tim did last year, but again, like, he's just a cocky coach in the division who wears a woman's golf visor, and he's beaming.
That's what you say.
He's beaming from ear to ear about his quarterback, and thinking, like, literally saying in interviews that I wasn't going to, like, he wanted him so bad and he wasn't going to let what happened to him when he wanted Mahomes happen again. And I'm just like, fuck this. No. This pendulum has swung too hard on the Bo Nix summer hype that now I can get like decent plus money at their normal under. Thank you.
Weeks 2 to 6 last year, they gave up 35 points to the Commanders, 70 points to the Dolphins, 28 points to the Bears, and 31 points to the Jets, Tim. That was the one good Zach Wilson game, wasn't it?
Yeah, talk about a low moment.
And then
they swept the Chargers.
The rest of the season, they gave up 30 points or more once in their final 11 games. So
yeah, they figured it out.
Yeah, their defense was not clearly as bad as everyone. Just, you have that. I mean, 70 is bad. 31 points to the Jets might be even worse.
It's not as bad, but it's close.
But anyway, that got so burned in and ingrained in people's mind that I think that their defense is probably, I don't know, the 21st best defense or something like that. If they play like that, the offense is slightly better. I just think they get to the 5.5 wins. I will be picking Kansas City to win the division, though.
Yeah, of course. Same here.
Same.
All right. Let's move to the South. The Houston Texans are up first. A lot of hype around these Houston Texans. 9.5 is their win total. That's juiced to -140. Maybe this is like Tim's Oasis take. I don't know. But Geoff, am I crazy to think that maybe the Texans are not quite as good as everyone thinks they are?
I was going to kind of come in with that take that, like, maybe the hype is a little too much.
Maybe Geoff will be the one to save you.
But I don't know, Pat. I look at the roster and it's just it's a really talented roster that's taken advantage of the rookie quarterback contract, allowing them to make some big moves. I'm not surprised if they actually end up being one of the best teams in football. So I've had a real tough one with this, but I do believe the whole division will be a lot more competitive than people think.
That's where I'm at too. I'm going to go under on the Texans. They actually kind of remind me a lot of last year's Lions, Tim, that everyone was just kind of on them, but the Lions did it. They hit their over.
I was going to say, if that's the case, you better take them over.
Well, no, but that's it. I was wrong on the Lions last year. I'm willing to be wrong on the Texans this year. And just, at this point last year, the Jags couldn't be beat. It was impossible. They were a lock to win this division. But I'm with Geoff. I think all 4 of these teams are a lot closer than the numbers would suggest here with the win totals.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Oh, I'm drinking some AFC sleeper
South?
Kool-Aid.
I guess you are, because I think 2 teams are really bad and 2 teams are okay. And Texans are okay. Do I want to go them over or not? 2 overs and 2 unders. So I don't want to go 3 unders and 1 over. So I'll take them over. I'm not as like delirious with the hype train as like people were with the Lions last year. I think they're going to be a 10 to 11 win team though. I think they shouldn't have that talent. I mean, if you believe in Stroud and you think Stroud is a top 5 to top 8 quarterback, you're obliged to take the over. And if you don't think he's a top 5 to 8 quarterback, then you can't take the over. I think it's a really simple one. More
I
think about
will.
it. I actually think it's that simple.
I will take the over because 9.5, even like they don't even have to live up to the full hype to clear that. I'm not looking to bet on them to be as great as people say, but if they are, I'm not shocked. But yeah, I'll pick the over. I might have way too many overs in this division. We'll see.
I just see them as being the what people think is like the off the board pick to win the AFC this year. Like they're that team now.
They probably are an off the board pick to win the AFC.
Yeah, but
I don't think many will take them.
But a lot of people are taking them. Like they're not taking the Chiefs
to win the AFC.
Yes, because no one wants to take the
anybody.
Ravens, no one wants to take the Bills, no one really wants to take the Bengals. This is the sports writer
Jets.
like, oh, or losing to the
Jets.
Chiefs in the AFC. No, I mean, if you have people who
I
like
do
burning their
agree.
money, then yeah, sure.
Jets are
the Jets.
favored to win the division. So
I do agree with Pat. We see this a lot, like in golf. Like we're always looking to like get excited about the team you think can like dethrone the guy. And at this moment, in the same way, like it was the Bills for a bit, like I think people are really excited to say this Houston team will be the team that challenges the mountaintop in the AFC.
this team is Ludwig Oberg, who has all the talent and skill, but in the end, just really can't muster.
Yeah, and he didn't win this year. He didn't
No.
win. He didn't win a regular event. He played great. I think he's got a lot to be proud of.
But he couldn't couldn't quite get to the mountaintop.
Couldn't cross the line and had a lot of moments in a lot of big events, be it majors, elevated, FedEx Cup, had a lot of big opportunities. And we're always just excited to be like, okay, this guy's going to knock off, the giant. I agree with Pat. I think that is because of the Bills fatigue. And if it's not the Bengals, I feel like this is the team people are picking.
CJ Stroud is the second favorite to win MVP.
That seems a bit hypey, a bit much.
You think so?
But like if this team were to, the South, which I don't think is as good as you guys think it is, were to like have a stupendous season and this team went 14-3 or 15-2 with a softer schedule, wouldn't say it's impossible.
I don't think it's impossible either. But I mean, you just mentioned Lamar Jackson, who's already won 2. He's 18-1.
No one has
certainly
ever
better.
won 3 MVPs without winning a Super Bowl.
Sure, Jalen Hurts in a probably weaker division, at least from top to bottom, is 14-1.
Yeah, I wouldn't be recommending him at 8-1.
If they won those games, I actually think Ryans could get the coach of the year he was robbed of last year. Because the Browns won with 4 quarterbacks.
And this isn't the Texans are going to stink. And I don't necessarily think this division is all that great from top to bottom. I just don't think that the bottom end is as bad as some people are projecting. I think these teams are actually a lot closer than people think. That if Houston goes 9-8 or 8-9, I think that's well within their range of outcomes here. And if they go 14-3, they go 14-3. And Stroud probably does win MVP. And maybe they do make the championship game. Like I do think that's at their other end of the bell curve of what I'm probably trying to bet against. But I do think that they're probably a much better bet next year than they would be this year when people feel like they got burned a little bit by them now. Almost a lot like, I'm going to go under. You 3 are going over. The coin is going over. You 2 are going over.
Yeah, I take the over.
I kind of feel like what Houston is going to be next year, Jacksonville might be this year.
I'm picking Jacksonville to win the division.
So am I. And I
like Jacksonville's over here.
Yeah, they're 8.5, minus 110 to the over. Everyone got burned by them last year, Geoff. How could they ever be good again? But they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I like the roster makeup. I like this whole division. I think even the teams that people perceive are at the bottom are going to be better. I'm not as like hard on Trevor Lawrence as a lot of people are. I guess when you were that high of a pick with that sort of hype, like maybe it's not like the best thing. The thing that I think about with him is like toughness. The guy's played through so many fucking injuries and he suits it up. I really do like this group. I think that they do totally bounce back. He'll be healthy. The defense obviously could always use an upgrade, but I like this team. I'm going over. I might go over way too much in this division.
Their beginning of the season schedule could be very difficult here. It might be worth jumping in if you.
Well, they have a bye week 1.
Okay, they're at Miami week 1. Then they're at home against the Browns. They're at the Bills, at the Texans.
That is tough for the first.
Are you using them in Survivor week 1?
No, the whole world is taking the Bengals in week 1 in Survivor.
You said bye weeks.
Yeah, you just said it's a bye week. You might as well take them. Those are your
No.
words.
I know what I said, but no.
You sure?
As the only person here on the panel who's actually had a perfect Survivor season, I don't need to take tips from anybody else who hasn't done it, how to do it.
How much money have you won lifetime in Survivor versus losing in Survivor?
It's all about the credits.
Is it? Because you claim to have this perfect season, yet you are a career
claim. It happened on this
you
show.
are a career loser monetarily when it comes to it. So in the one that you actually played for money, you didn't make those picks.
I had a perfect season on this show.
You
Again,
did.
This is just sour grapes from you because you haven't accomplished it. Maybe one day you will, but until then, take notes. I'm teaching you a class for free here.
Hey, look, I'm the only. I mean, Geoff probably has too, but I'm up money lifetime in Survivor. So
again, you have much to learn from me about this. So just take notes.
I don't think so. I mean, it just sounds like you're.
Yes, I think so.
When you say things like "I like credit" and you can't point to the money, it just sounds like you're poor.
Didn't you after being alive after week 3 last year, didn't you say you had a 50-50 chance to win or something?
Yeah, I did. But 50% of the time you lose, and that's what happened.
That ended up winning a custody, I think.
I'm sure it did.
That receiver the Jags drafted is going to be as good as the dudes at the top of the draft as well. Brian Thomas.
I like Christian Kirk.
Generic of a name. Yeah, I think Jacksonville's going to be good, and I like them. I really do like them week 1. I have to be honest.
Then you should take him in Survivor. But yeah, this early, if they can just go like 2-2 to start the season, or even knock off the Texans in Houston, then it's game on for this division. The Colts are 8.5 as well. They are juiced to -105, so you can actually it's -115 to bet the under because sportsbooks they like taking the rake on both sides. Tony Richardson, Hunky Tony, is back. We'll see how long he holds up. They have Flacco and not Gardner Minshew backing him up this year. They're +340 to win the division. If we talk about any team that is like completely average in the NFL, Geoff, this is the team that I think of.
But I think they have a chance to be pretty decent, though.
I don't. Like, how good is Anthony Richardson, honestly? Like, I think he's fantasy good. That's great and everything. But how did that translate? And Justin Fields was fantasy great. Didn't really help them win games.
I like the playmakers. I would argue the group as a whole, it's a pretty underrated team. They're pretty solid.
You like their playmakers. You like Jonathan Taylor and you like Michael Pittman is your one. That's doing it for you.
Yeah, no, they got all those really. They have
Michael Pittman and like the Chargers B team as the rest of the receivers.
They've got all those. I don't know. They played well with Minshew last year, so it makes me excited about what could actually happen. I wouldn't be excited if Flacco. I wouldn't be excited if Flacco has to play. I would tell you that, but I don't. I mean, sure, they lack some levels of like star power, but it's a pretty balanced team with really strong O-line, D-line, and I like the coach. So I might go over 4 overs in a division, and I don't think I'll get burned.
I'm going under. The coin is going under. Geoff is going over the 8.5. Again, this isn't a 3-14 team, but I just very clearly see this 8-9, 7-10. Could they get the over? Sure. If Anthony Richardson's really good and he holds up and stays healthy, I just think that that's not going to happen to him.
Under. I don't believe in this team. I think they overperformed last year, and things just kind of broke right for them. If they had a win and in opportunity at the end of the year, I don't trust this team. And yeah, Joe Flacco's backing up. Like you just have so few outs. There's like 3 or 4 players that like legit matter on this team, and they don't tend to be skill position players. So.
And you don't like Richardson, Tim?
Richardson gets a big old fat incomplete. No idea. Not willing to decide one way or the other yet.
That's kind of where I'm at with him. Like he could be excellent, but he could be really bad too. Because all we
he
really
could be Robert Griffin, or he could be a star. Or he could be Lamar. I don't know yet. We'll see.
Like all we saw from him last year, Geoff, was just him running and then him having to leave every game because he got hit.
That's it.
And then he was just out for the year.
Yeah, and that's sort of like what I worry could happen to Jaden Daniels, but sort of like Richardson. If they're healthy, they're both amazing, and I think the teams can be really good.
Tennessee is the final team we are covering in the AFC. Their win total is 6.5. That's actually juiced to the under, so you get plus 110 on the over. I am going over on the 10. Les Titans, Geoff, your guys. Levis is fine. He's not great. I like having Hopkins and Ridley as my receivers. Pollard and Spears out of the backfield.
This is for 2019. I'd like those guys.
Sure,
as
but
my wide receivers.
that's not bad for a guy who's just kind of. I mean, Hopkins was still pretty effective at contested balls last year, and he is dealing with a bit of a knee injury. He should be ready for Week 1. And Ridley had his moments. Like, they're not expected to be good. They're 6.5 wins. That's not that many in a division where I think that maybe the Texans aren't as great as everyone projects them to be, that the Colts are a little bit worse and the Jags are right about where people think they're going to be at, that there's a lot of wins up for grabs in this division, and I think the defense will be a little bit better in Levis in year 2. You know, he's going to make some plays. He's going to throw people out of games. It's going to happen, but I think it's more likely that he's slightly below average than one of the worst quarterbacks in football.
I am with you. I am on the over. I think this is one of the more underrated teams in the league. I'm excited for the new coach and what he could do with Will Levis. I know it's a separate, single related thing. I'm super excited to see Levis versus Caleb in Week 1. Like the amount of like insane ceiling chucks and like pick sixes, like going both ways, I think is going to be so much fun. Maybe that's a hard over game. I'm not really a total better. That's just
I think it could be a main screen game next week.
Actually at 1:00.
I think it could be a main screen game.
Ooh, well,
Nothing better than that. I mean, I'm excited for it as a football nerd, but there's got to be something like higher profile than the Titans.
We don't really care all that much about high profile and whatever
No,
that is.
I want to see Caleb win.
No, yeah, you're right. But I'm saying like that'd be. I can't remember the grid off the top of my head.
It could be Jags Dolphins. It depends who's attendance.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I think in terms of like how fun that game could be, you're probably right. Like if I had to bet on a game to be the most fun at 1:00 Week 1, it's Caleb versus Will Levis.
Honestly,
like bombs and pick sixes.
It is one of the 3 best games. The 3 best games are Texans, Colts, Jags, Dolphins, and Titans, Bears. Like Steelers, Falcons doesn't really rev my engine in the Arthur Smith revenge game.
It may not find a TV.
Well, there's not that many games early.
I guess there's not. Plus, there's a Friday game and
2 Mondays. Is there 2 Mondays?
No, just one Monday. No, just one Monday. But I think they have more 5:00 games for whatever reason.
There's 4.
I have
4
Nance
late
Week
games.
1.
You get Nance. Raiders Chargers gets Nance.
Which I was shocked about. He probably wanted to stay home, but I was shocked that they would have the Nance and Romo team go up against Brady because there's a Brady's
Cowboys Browns
premiering.
Yeah,
is premiering at 4:00 Week 1. But I can't wait to talk about Week 1 next week. Like I said it a couple times. I think the Titans, you have to like AFC sleeper team. Like the win total's 6.5, so it's not like crazy, but yeah, I think they cleared this number. I'm excited. I think the coach is going to draw up some nice pitch and catch for Will Levis.
Yeah, if they have a competent offense,
I'm against it.
I don't think that they're necessarily like out of this division either. If the division is, like I said, a lot closer than I think that it is, I don't think 10-1 is the craziest bet for a team that could legitimately have the fewest wins in football. Like they could be god awful at the same time. But I do think that the bones of this team is still there, and I don't hate how they look offensively, especially with the bringing Callahan in and what he could potentially do in scheming these guys into the proper positions. But you hate them, Tim?
Nah, I mean, I don't hate. I just don't trust them. I like the under.
All right, let's.
I think people are like just blindly picking on them for a lot of obvious reasons. They don't check many boxes.
And Vrabel's gone, and everyone really respected Vrabel as getting the most. He was a Tomlin type figure of getting the most out of mediocre talent. Well, maybe he wasn't.
Yeah, no, that'll be interesting to follow. And we could be proven wrong, Pat and I, like really quick. We could like by like the end of week 3 be like, oh shit, like there's a top to bottom gap in the AFC South that a lot of people were right about, I guess Tim included, that I didn't see coming. I really think the gap isn't like that big. I think a lot of head-to-head, I think there's going to be a lot of head-to-head fun in this division, even if people aren't expecting it.
So who are we taking to win this division? Because I'm going to take Jacksonville.
I am too.
I mean, I'll take Houston.
Old Chalk Donkey, Geoff. Houston, Kansas City, Buffalo, and the Bengals. So Buffalo is your off-the-board pick this year to win a division in the AFC.
What's yours, Jacksonville?
Yeah, Jacksonville.
I don't know. I don't want to all be on. I came in as thinking I was going to fade the Texans. And I didn't want to all three of us be on the Jags. And like, I don't think the Texans are going to meet their ceiling. I don't know. My prediction is everyone goes over their win total.
Okay. Well, that leads us to the playoffs and the AFC Championship game. Do you guys got picks?
Chiefs over Jets.
Not even picking the Jets to go to the Super Bowl, huh?
No, I'm going to pick the Chiefs over the Jets. And the Chiefs to beat the Bears in the Super Bowl.
I forgot you picked
You
the Bears.
really pissed off Chicago.
Too
I read
bad.
the comments last week.
Too bad. They were upset last year when we picked against them. We're upset when we picked for them. Can't please them.
I am going to go with Kansas City over Buffalo in the championship game, and I'll go Kansas City over Philadelphia in the Super Bowl.
My success is your success, and your success is my success.
Jeffrey?
I guess it'll be for the third time, but Bengals play the Chiefs in the title game. Bengals win. Eagles beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Cincy over Kansas City, and then then Philadelphia over Cincinnati.
Yeah, I guess that's what you can put me down for.
All right, picking the NFC to win this year. Aggressive. As Kansas City.
I
is
bet
not
the
in-
Eagles to win the Super Bowl, so I'm just like, that's the bet I have. That's the pick I'll make.
Do they have the most wins in the league? Because I feel like that's the Eagles. Are they the favorites? Can't find win totals now.
Well, I had it up before. Let's see if they make me reload the whole thing.
Wins,
most
exact
wins.
wins.
I got it.
Yeah, most wins.
Eagles 9-1.
It's not terrible.
No, Chiefs and 49ers are the favorites, and then the Lions, and then Bengals, Ravens, Eagles are all tied at 9.
Jets 14-1, Tim.
I don't hate it. I think this is a very good regular season team. I'm less confident about the postseason.
All right. Well, that will do it. On the AFC Win Total Show, you can find all of the results in the Mayo Media newsletter, which should be out right now. So go down to the description. You can play in that underdog season-long pick'em pool that I'm putting on. $25,000 up for grabs. You need to have an underdog account. If you don't have one, use code Mayo at underdog right now and get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. There's also that Travis Kelce free square, which will be available starting on Thursday, the week before Thursday Night Football. Get your free squares where you can get them. Get your deposit bonuses where you can get them. Jeff, if there's one thing we know, the only way that you can beat any of these places is by taking advantage of the free money that they give away.
Yeah. Hopefully more. There used to be a lot more free money around.
Well, there's $25,000 of free money that I'm giving away from them to you good people out there if you go play in the pool.
I'll take advantage of all the free money promos, and I'll roll that shit over. It's football season. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. We're going to be playing it anyway, so I want to thank Geoff. I want to thank The Coin for being here right now. Paul and Jared for mixing everything together. And, of course, Tim and Cust.
Tim and August.
That's not my name.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Gonna get you. That's what I'm getting you for Christmas. Oasis tickets.
Please don't.
And then you'll have to use them because they're a gift.
Please don't.
Get you the plane tickets too to go see him.
be like Abe Simpson at Woodstock with my arms crossed, asking people to sit down.
So every Tuesday evening, we'll be recording the show. You can get the advance copy in the Mayo Media newsletter when it comes out on Tuesday evening. Everyone else will have it either Wednesday morning or Wednesday evening. I'm excited for this to be back, and Sunday Night Live to be back too, which I think people are pretty excited about.
Yes. Happy to hear that.
Don't know if we have a conceit for the show this year yet, or if we're going to have one. But
Well, do you want me to give you some inside info on what I've been trying to do? And I don't know if it's going to come to fruition. I got to talk to the advertiser rep. But Wendy's was actually wanting to sponsor the show, that we try a new Wendy's item every week.
I would be so on board with trying a different Wendy's item every week.
This is such a great idea, except when it's some bougie frosty that's not chocolate, right, Tim?
I'm willing to
love
try
that.
anything.
I love Wendy's. I love it. I love it. So good.
Yeah, so having Wendy's as a sponsor, if you see it week 1, you're going to know why. You should tweet at Wendy's if you're watching. You've made it over 2 hours into the show. Big super fan. Thank you so much. Go use Underdog and tweet at Wendy's as well. Tell them you want them to sponsor the PME Sunday Night Live show for great product placement, because it'll get talked about and it will get shared, Tim.
Yes, it will. We'll patch up our longtime Twitter feud between Wendy's and me.
Like when they dunked on you?
Well, that's a matter of opinion. It'd be a fun sponsor.
It most definitely would be. All right, so that'll do it for me. Rate, review, subscribe, rate, and review the audio podcast for this show. I'll be drawing someone to win $500 cash who does that, and it'll help us bump us up in the chart. So, win-win for all of us. So please go do that. Sub to the channel, smash the like while you're here. And we got it. We got like 6 straight months of football coming your way. So enjoy, all right? I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience. Experience.